Good morning or evening, depends on where you are. Welcome to Thursday AI. You're tuning to the weekly show that keeps you up to date. So if you are like everybody else in the beginning of 2026, overwhelmed with what's going on with AI, there's just too many things at once, and you feel like you need a full-time job covering or just like knowing the news. That's why we're here for. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases from CoreWeave, and you are on Thursday AI, the weekly AI news show that brings you everything that matters in the world of AI, which is getting, to be very frank, increasingly harder and harder to do. So we have to make hard choices in what we cover. But with me today to help me do this is Jan Peleg and Wolf from Raven Wolf. And we're going to have a few more hosts and guests. How you guys doing? Welcome to the show.
Excellent. How are you, Alex?
Doing
Great
good,
week,
doing
huh?
good. Jan, how are you doing?
Crazy week.
They are getting crazy.
We are at the fast takeoff. That's the moment. Like that's the moment of the takeoff, man.
Did you see my my thing for today? Like I said, we're approaching singularity, and I feel like since December, like stuff has really changed, and so we must absolutely talk about this. Like things have changed significantly, and we all felt it, and now it feels like everybody else is feeling this, but also not only from AI capabilities, just from the level of AI news, the amount of stuff that people can ship to production for all of us to play. I'm barely able to like catch up to the toys that I'm getting every day.
Need AI to stay up to date with AI, definitely. And everybody is using it to accelerate even more. So we are still in the quiet phase of the year, I'm pretty sure.
Look, it's accelerating because everyone got access to the tools. So now everyone is building and everyone is building more. So you get more stuff. And because you get more stuff, you can use the stuff to make more stuff. And that's pretty much what's going on.
This is how we're getting to the singularity. And this is what I named the show Approaching Singularity today, because it does feel like we've been talking about acceleration for a long time. We've been talking about coding change for a long time before people caught up. We've been talking about open source. But it does feel like since December, and definitely since the beginning of the year, things are accelerating to a stupid degree. And to help us cover that acceleration, folks, I'm very happy to tell you that we have not one, not two, 3 interviews today with incredible folks to help us cover the news. So we're gonna chat with Ben Serra, founder of Pulsia. You guys absolutely have to hear about Pulsia. This is like insane. This guy is a single founder building an AI company that helps other AI companies grow, and he's passed 650,000 in yearly run rate revenue since like December. And the graph looks parabolic. It's absolutely bonkers. So we're going to chat with them about Pulsia and how it is to run a fully autonomous AI company that runs other companies autonomously. Is that we're also going to chat with Nader Debit from Cognition. Nader is like, I don't know, when I presented the team that Nader is going to come, Nistan is like, hey, I owe this guy my career. Nader is like a legendary developer relations person. He recently joined Devin. If you guys remember Devin, we covered Devin when Devin just came out. Devin just came out with a new Devin, and they said, hey, when we released it 2 years ago, it didn't really work. But now it does because of the whole thing, the capabilities caught up. So Devin is like the original agentic async coder for you. And we're going to chat with Philip Keeley, who just released a book called Inference Engineering. So all of that is coming later down the show. Meanwhile, I want to add a few other co-hosts here. Guys, I will say this. If we're coasting towards the singularity, there's no better group of people to cover this than this group, for sure. 100%. Welcome, Ryan Carson.
Good to see everybody. Yeah, let's roll into the singularity together and see what happens.
I think this is the show now. This is the show. We're just like vibe coding ourselves into the singularity. LDJ, how you doing?
I am doing great.
Alrighty. Well, short and sweet. I love it because that's actually great because we don't have a lot of time on the show today. We have a lot of stuff to cover, just like a ridiculous amount of stuff to cover. So, how about we how about we start with welcoming everybody who's watching, right? So welcome everyone. You're on Thursday, February 26th, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I know it's morning for some of you on Thursday, a work day, etc. But hopefully we're going to make this very entertaining for you, and definitely you'll learn a bunch. If you're new to the show, if you're just tuning in because you saw a link somewhere, welcome as well. We are here every week, approaching 3 years. So we're going to be 3 years in March, in 2 episodes. It's going to be 3 years of Thursday. And in those 3 years, we've observed an insane scale up in intelligence, like all of you as well. And we've been following this very, very closely, all of us. And we specialize in a bunch of other stuff. We specialize in open source. We specialize in big companies and APIs. We're going to cover all of this. Though this week we're probably going to switch the show on its head a little bit, just because there's just so much stuff to do. And the number one thing that I wanted to start the show with is actually the TLDR section, because we have a lot of stuff to cover. At some point, we're not going to be able to cover everything that does happen. But I will say, we'll at least tell you that it happens. Okay, so let's run through the TLDR and then we'll dive into the discussion as they come up. I will again remind, we have 3 interviews coming up at the end of the show. So starting at, would that be like 9 a.m. Pacific? Yeah. So starting in an hour, we're going to have 2 interviews. So we have an hour to cover the news. Let's run through the TLDR, folks. Here's everything you have missed potentially in the world of AI for the past week. Righty, this is the TLDR for Thursday for February 26th. I'm going to run super quick through this, so you guys make sure you don't miss anything. Your host is Alex Volkov with Weights and Biases Core. We've co-hosts Wolf from Ravenwolf, Jan Peleg, Nistan Tahira, LDJ, and Ryan Carson. We'll look like we have a full panel here for discussions as well. 3 interviews today with Ben Serra from Pulsia, Nader Dabit from Cognition, and Philip Keeley, a Deverell at Base 10, author of Inference Engineering, a new book that I would love to tell you all about. It's really, really dope. The number one thing that I think that everybody must talk about, folks, like just the number one thing that I think that we must discuss is Anthropic is having an ultimatum with the Pentagon, with the Department of War, to give military unfettered access to Claude by Friday or face the Defense Production Act. This is quite insane that we're here at this point. I really, really want to cover this and talk with folks on the show. Basically, Pentagon gave Anthropic an ultimatum. Anthropic is being used for everything except autonomous weapons of war or mass surveillance for U.S. citizens. This is the hard line, and the Pentagon is asking Anthropic to drop this hard line by Friday or face really bad consequences. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We absolutely have to talk about this. Also, Anthropic posted this week, in the beginning of this week, that they've detected distillation attacks, they call them, and they name names specifically: DeepSeek, Minimax, and ZAI with GLM. And we have to talk about this as well. What is distillation attack? What does it mean? Is it illegal? Anthropic is also scraping. So we absolutely have to talk about this with you as well. OpenAI released a GPT 5.3 codex in API. So now it's available for evaluations and other tools, etc. GPT 5.3 codex is a model we told you here live on the show when it dropped. And it since has been probably the craziest model that OpenAI has released compared to Opus. Many, many people are switching to this, including our own host here, Ryan Carson, switching to codex and are swearing by it. We're going to continue. It's really good. I have some comments about it's being good, but like for specific purposes. But we'll get there. What else do we have? Open source. Open source is banging. Alibaba released Qwen 3.5 medium, 35 billion parameter models with only 3 billion active, and it's also very, very good. Shout out to our friends at Alibaba Tongi Lab Qwen. There's multiple names for this lab, but yeah, shout out to Tongi folks. And also our friends Liquid AI released LFM2 24B. This is their large liquid foundational model, only 2.3 billion per active, very, very fast on local inference. So local is banging. I have a new corner for you today that's called evals and benchmarks, and would love Wolfram's, if we have a chance to talk about this, because I think this, besides Anthropic news, this is likely the most important piece of evaluations that we have seen this week. METR measures the long time horizon of models. For how long can models run autonomously? And we've seen doubling every certain number of months. Opus achieves 14.5-hour task completion. Opus, based on this benchmark, runs autonomously for over 14 hours to achieve a task, and we've seen this graph go absolutely exponential. We have to talk to you about time horizon benchmarks and whether or not it's completely saturated at this point, because agents are running basically for a very, very long time, and this is the singularity we talk about. The longer agents run, the better agent they build. The longer they run, the better the agents they build. We also saw a complete destruction of ArcAGI. Folks, I don't know if you saw this. Somebody came out, Confluence Lab came out with 97.9% on ArcAGI 2. ArcAGI 2, which supposedly 2 years ago was impossible for LLMs, now gets 97.9%. Plus, I don't have this in my notes. I saw that somebody posted that they sold ArcAGI 3, all the publicly available ArcAGI 3 as well. So ArcAGI, the test that supposedly tells us if AGI is here, is absolutely just completely saturated now. And that's like a whole thing. And this is like in the span of a week, right? METR goes ballistic. ArcAGI goes absolutely saturated. OpenAI retires SweBench Verified because that is fully saturated as well. SweBench Verified, Ryan, I remember we looked at this one and you're like, nah, SweBench Verified 5%, not for me. OpenAI just said publicly on Swix's latent space as well that like most of the other labs know the golden solution by heart now for SweBench Verified. And so they're only focusing on SweBench Pro. So we're going to discuss this as well. Another hot corner for us is tools in agentic engineering. This is, folks, if you've been living under a rock, or if you're new to Thursday AI, the world is changing really fast in this specific area. Tools for agentic engineering and agentic engineering is everywhere right now. If companies are not running, if companies are not taking into account the amount of tokens that their developers are spending, in addition to the developers' salaries, they're not going to make it in the very straight sense of the word. We are now in a world where when you hire a person, you need to consider at least their salary is worth of tokens for that person to produce the next day output. And so we have to cover this. We have to cover this every day on the show. I know some of the listeners are not necessarily engineers, but that world has passed. If you're interested about the AI and you're running like an OpenClaw, for example, it will run code for you. So you're essentially an engineer anyway. And this is why we have this corner. And in this corner, we want to wish happy 1 year birthday to Claude Code. Can you believe it? It's been only 1 year of this.
Let's go.
We absolutely told you about on the show, and then maybe some of us didn't even use it after the show for like a few months because it was not as good as it is now, and now it's just absolutely incredible. So 1 year birthday, it just signifies how fast we moved through this 1 year, just like how incredibly vast the changes. Devin, which we also told you about, I want to say 2 years ago. Could that be 2 years ago that we launched Devin? That we talked about Devin? Somebody double check me, please. Devin released Devin 2.2, agentic autonomous agent with computer use, browser, self-verify, and self-fix its own work. And I've gotten a little bit of early access to this Devin thing, and now it's launched publicly to everyone. And we'll have Nader to talk about this, folks. Devin slaps. Devin absolutely slaps. Devin does stuff that like neither Claude Code or Cowork or OpenClaw or any of the tools that I've done does. And it's really good, and I would love to like tell you about this because like it's so good that the promise of the original Devin when it launched, it's now delivers on that promise. Would love to like hear from you about Devin. Devin announcement was March 12th, 2024. Yes, 2 years ago. We talked to you about Devin 2 fucking years ago. It's insane. Alrighty, thank you Wolfram for confirming this, folks. Devin launches. Cursor launches cloud agents also. So in 1 week, we have Devin relaunch, Cursor launching cloud agents. So Cursor kind of pivots from IDE to an extent also to like an agentic agent cloud thingy that does some stuff. We're going to talk to you all about Cursor. We love Cursor here. We'll have all of them, honestly. Like I have zero issues with any of these labs. Speaking of the tools, both Claude Cowork and Codex now have automations. So cron jobs that run to do tasks for you while you're asleep, with the small exception that you have to leave your laptop open. But it's very, very important. LM Studio launches LM Link, so you can use the local models elsewhere. All of these things just like one after another. I'm pretty sure there's more.
Perplexity.
Perplexity launches the computer, comes out of obscurity. Perplexity computer. I dude, I didn't even have a chance to like put this on here, but yeah, would love to. If you guys have used it, would love to hear what's that about. The Perplexity launches Perplexity computer, which has all of the tools for all of the agents as well. We will tell you about this week's buzz also. We launched Minimax 2.5 and Kimi 2.5 on our inference service. And that's a very, very cheap and very fast inference service powered by CoreWeave, which also powers OpenAI and a bunch of other premier LLMs. So you can get some of that inference for your open source. And we'll tell you how to get that connected to your OpenCloud very quick. And then in order to highlight this, intelligence explosion, we have three folks who are very, very near and dear to this intelligence explosion. Ben Sarah, from scaling his AI autonomous business to over 600,000 MRR. Oh, sorry. I think this is ARR. 600,000 MRR is crazy. But 600,000 ARR since December. He only launched in December. He's approaching 600,000 ARR. It's insane. We'll also talk with Philip Keeley, inference engineering book of his launched, and Nader Dabit from Cognition to talk to us about Devin. In vision and video, C-Dance that we've told you about from ByteDance that has been trained probably on all of TikTok and looks incredible and is in charge of all of the viral clips that you see recently is now available for you on CapCut. Go right now. Stop listening to me. Go. No, don't really. But like go to CapCut. It's now free. It's taking a long ass time, but it's now free. And we're not even at the breaking news point yet. OpenAI releases GPT Audio 1.5. So OpenAI real-time audio also has improved significantly. We're also something we covered here with Qwen Kramer and a bunch of other folks. If you're building agents that talk to you, if you want to talk to your Claudes or OpenClaudes or whatever, GPT Audio 1.5 is really good. Not cheap, but really good. And we have breaking news. In the middle of the TLDR, as always, we have breaking news. AI breaking news coming at you only on Thursday AI. Folks, DeepSeek drop. No, I'm just kidding. We're all waiting for DeepSeek. But while we wait for DeepSeek, the breaking news is, folks, Google DeepMind launches Nano Banana 2. Nano Banana 2, aka Nano Banana Pro Flash, if you want, because it's the same quality. I got access, shout out to the Gemini team. I got early access to Nano Banana 2, and it is literally the same quality as Nano Banana Pro for like half the price. And supposedly it's also faster. I think during launch it's not actually faster, but it has pro level capabilities, half the price, and it also has a image search capability, so you can actually go and Google images for you. It's really funny. Google can Google for you, and it's really, really good. So this is our breaking news. I think also the one thing that I didn't cover, Nistan, you told me about this. There's a Canadian company that has 15,000 tokens per second generation for open source models. That also happened this week.
Oh yeah,
they're called. What are they called again?
Talas. So
Talas, yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
it was three actual chip engineers from Tense Torrent that were working under Jim Keller, and they started their own because they wanted to go in their own direction. And so the weights are baked in. So you cannot change the chip after, but this is what allows the insane speeds too.
Yeah, but it's instantaneous. Instantaneous. You just press and that's it.
And 15,000 tokens at like a small PCIe card it looks like a sound card that you just put in your computer. Like that's.
I'll take it. If you put a good model over there, I'm taking this one.
Like for filtering and stuff, people still use Llama 3.8b for filtering things.
Yeah, and you probably talked about this when I was getting my glass cleaner, but this is obviously going to reduce heat, and this is going to increase serviceability of these things. So when these are all in space, this is going to be a good thing. So
we got to space now. Yeah,
guys, 15,000. Like the other labs, they're doing the very ultra fast inference, like Cerebrus and Grok with a Q and Samba Nova.
Yeah,
those
but you
folks
need
are
to.
at around 1,000 or 1,500, right? So we're talking about the
Yeah.
10x speed up. Obviously for smaller models, but still, it's like the jumps.
Yeah,
insane.
I mean, you need to bake it into the silicon. I mean, you
Yes.
can't change. It's not you know, it's
not
not
the
the
same.
same comparison. But
No.
yeah, I mean, what you get is completely instantaneous. I mean,
So also this
that's
week,
it.
we saw the first time 15,000 tokens per second. 15,000 tokens per second.
And you could try it. It was publicly
Yeah.
available too.
We'll demo this. All right, folks. So this is the TLDR. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about. I think that we won't be able to talk about all of them. I really, really want to talk to you guys about what the fuck is happening with Anthropic and the Department of War. Pete Hexeth, and we barely touch geopolitics on the show ever, and we have two very hot topics to talk about them politically and geopolitically. We're going to be very AI focused on this. The Pentagon, Department of War, Pete Hexeth, have given Daria Amodei an ultimatum by Friday tomorrow to remove the two restrictions that Claude has within the security apparatus. Claude is the only model with high-level security access. Apparently, Claude was used to capture Maduro. Did you guys see this? While Maduro was captured, Claude was the only LLM that was used during this. And the two restrictions that exist in Claude usage inside those departments in government is Claude should not be used for autonomous weaponry or kill decisions. So Claude should not be autonomously used to say, "Hey, we should, shoot at that house or whatever." And also, Claude should not be used for surveillance, for mass surveillance. The Department of War, Pete Hexeth, is pressing down on Anthropic to remove those restrictions and to say something like all lawful uses. And if they don't, by tomorrow, agree to remove those restrictions, then they will be designated as a supply chain risk, which is an insane thing. Anthropic just got a $200 billion deal with all of the governments. This basically means that none of the governments can be able to use Anthropic ever. And the second insane thing is they're scaring Anthropic to abuse a old Korean war law to nationalize Anthropic and force them to do this thing for the government. What the actual fuck is going on?
It's not good. I mean,
no.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Which model is this? Like, what checkpoint of Opus do they have? I want to try that.
I think it's 4.5. Dude, I think it's literally like it's a specific, but it's a 4.5. It's not in like an Opus 4.6. It's Opus. LDJ, what do you think?
So they said that the government's been specifically using Sonnet 4.5, so it's not even Opus.
It's Sonnet.
But
I thought it was
Sonnet
Opus.
4.5. Yeah. And they have a fine-tuned version of Sonnet 4.5 essentially.
Bro, they can fine-tune. They can fine-tune DeepSeek. Like why do you need to go to this? I don't know. Why do you need to go there? Just fine-tune a different model. Like
it reeks of people that like actually don't know how these things work. Yeah, this is so dumb. If it's Sonnet 4 or 5, then what are we even doing here?
See, I do think it's worth noting though that this news it's not an official statement by Anthropic or the government. So this is alleged news that was broke by Axios, and the specific quote being, Hexeth told Amodei in a tense meeting on Tuesday that the Pentagon will either cut ties and declare Anthropic a supply chain risk or invoke the Defense Production Act to force the company to tailor its model to the military needs. So I think usually these sources are somewhat true. At least there might be some some exaggeration or some game of telephone that's slightly altering things, but I do think we should take it with at least some grain of salt here.
Yep. And the two red lines is no domestic surveillance of American people and no fully autonomous lethal weapons. And can I shout out this beautiful infographic here that has Pete Hexeth. This is Nano Banana 2. generated
Seriously?
infographic. Of course, yeah.
Man, this is
It's-
impressive.
It's
I
really
was
good.
about to ask
It's really
you.
good.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
but we'll get back to this. We'll get back to this. And folks,
I like
Anthropic-
how. Sorry, I like how it made Dario Amadei just an absolute Chad in the picture.
yeah, absolute chat. But also like, guys, the like it brought Pete Hexes like in full. Look at this. Look at
Yeah.
this. This
That's
is incredible.
perfect.
I was
Well,
so
that's okay.
surprised by this.
Can you zoom in on Dario? Can you zoom in on Dario?
Yeah, let's do. Of course, this has nothing to do with the news. But yeah,
All right, there we go. Okay.
Okay, so folks, why this matters is because obviously AI is taking over more and more segments of the economy. Like we're seeing this right now. There's more websites, there's more businesses being built. Folks are using and spending on infrastructure. The big companies are like lifting the economy and holding the stock market basically. And everybody's afraid of DeepSeek to drop the stock market. And now the government basically strong arms one of these companies, and we don't know who has the leverage. I'm pretty sure Anthropic has more leverage here because I don't know if you guys saw this as well. Supposedly XAI immediately said yes, they don't care about any of the restrictions. Like supposedly when they asked XAI whether or not like Grok should be used for all this, XAI is like, yeah, fine. But they don't want to use XAI, they want to use Grok. Like this is why the ultimatum is. So like how good is Claude that the government does not want to use despite the ties of XAI Elon to the government, etc. So that's one. Two is that I'm with Dario on this. I'm really hoping that they have a very strong backbone. Anthropic has been kind of on a decline in the vibes after canceling OpenClaw and doing some other things and blah 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 blah. So just like on the vibes on the timeline, Anthropic has been kind of like lagging behind, despite Cloud Code being incredible. But I absolutely want Dario to stand up here with a straight spine and say, "Fuck no, we're not doing this." Jeff Dean from Google said the same thing. AI should not be used this way. And I'm really hoping that this is what's going to happen on Friday, which will cost Anthropic a lot of money. But I'm really hoping that Anthropic
they have to say no. I mean, like the whole premise of Anthropic will crumble if they suddenly go to Pete Hesketh. Sure, man. Yeah, use RLMs for war. Like it's just that doesn't work. And I'm sure Gemini's can do the same. I'm sure OpenAI can do the same.
Yeah.
But this is dumb because we all know they could just use a Chinese model.
Yeah.
Like, what are we even talking about here? And we're in a world now where there is no protection. Like the Chinese models are going to be just as good as the American ones.
Yeah. So. LDJ, go ahead. What's on your mind?
So if it is true that they would use the Defense Production Act anyways, if they do refuse, then it seems like the best course of action to me would be to accept, because if you refuse, then you'll be forced to have them use your model anyways, but now you have these bad relations with your own government. And so it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't, but maybe just the best option is to cooperate.
The thing about the Defense Production Act is it was used during COVID to like force companies to do was that vaccine production super quick, right? And this is like a nuclear option that they have. But designating Claude and Anthropic as a supply chain risk cannot go together with Defense Production Act. You cannot defense production something that you've designated as supply chain risk. So like those two like options are not really like together. I stand with Anthropic. I don't think that the AI should be used in this way autonomously. Although I will say there is a whole thing with the war with China in AI, and like I don't think any of the Chinese companies will ever have a discussion with the CCP about some of these rules, because CCP will just not ask. Right? CCP will just use whatever they need to for this exact purpose, if not using them now, likely. So, I'm glad we're here. I'm glad there is even a discussion.
Guys, they can just fine-tune it for more safety.
Yeah, I'm not sure what are we even talking about? Seriously.
The genie's out of the bottle. Like I think the idea that governments can control models now, it's just not real, and that's scary and interesting. And here we go.
All righty, let's talk about the fine-tuning distillation. The second thing that we absolutely must talk about, also from Anthropic, is that DeepSeek scares the shit out of everyone that is thinking about DeepSeek. If you guys remember a year ago, and if you listen to the show, you definitely remember a year ago, DeepSeek R1 came out and crashed the stock market because it was supposedly trained for $5.5 million, whatever, obsoleting, whatever, and it was beating the top leading LLMs at the time. Nobody, as far as I know, uses DeepSeek R1 at this point. All of the models that we have from all of the Chinese labs are way, way, way better than what DeepSeek released a year ago, right? So that's on its own crazy. The model that came out and absolutely like devastated, like wiped, I don't know how many millions of the market, billions of the market, is now irrelevant. But DeepSeek is not relevant. DeepSeek itself, the lab, is not relevant. We all keep waiting for V4, etc. Supposedly it's multimodal. We don't know. What we do know, though, is a few things. One, DeepSeek is coming, probably this month, potentially today. I don't know. If it comes today, breaking news, we're going to tell you about this. Two, DeepSeek likely, it was leaked, and LDJ, you're the guy who confirms these things, so you can find the exact quote. Supposedly, DeepSeek was trained on NVIDIA's chips, and DeepSeek is now not like trying to hide the evidence for this. This is what was leaked from one of the government labs. Nissan, go ahead.
Very interesting part. GLM claimed that GLM5 was fully trained on Huawei chips.
Yeah.
I don't know how true it is, but that's it.
So GLM and the upcoming release of DeepSeek scares the lab so much that they feel like they need to like release a bunch of stuff. Anthropic released a report naming DeepSeek, Minimax, and ZAI, naming them directly, saying that they have detected a distillation attacks and misuse of a bunch of accounts of a network of accounts to log in to Claude and ask Claude for results, and basically using this at scale to train their models. Now, we haven't seen a reaction from this lab. We would love to see a reaction from this lab. Once we do, I would love to like tell you about this. But Anthropic basically like names here, and I think this is like very. Let me pull up the image that I have here. I think it's very, very telling. I don't remember ever Anthropic or OpenAI like mentioning other labs by name and saying, "Hey, they did this." So the thing that is most telling, I really want to like. Let me try to zoom in here. Yeah, here we go. The thing that's most telling, okay? DeepSeek has, I don't think it's 150,000. I think my please somebody double check this, but I think my infographic is actually wrong by like an order of magnitude. I think it's like 15,000 exchanges.
I think 150,000 is right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's also kind of low in terms.
Yeah. So here's why they're all are scared shitless from DeepSeek. DeepSeek is 150,000 exchanges. Minimax is accused. We don't know if it's true for 13 million exchanges, and Moonshot for 3.4 million exchanges. DeepSeek is like orders of magnitude less than the other labs, but DeepSeek was written about first in the blog post. When Anthropic said, "Hey, these 3 Chinese labs are still attacking our infrastructure services," which is, it's against term of service of using Claude, they are absolutely in the rights to say, "Hey, this is not how Anthropic should be used, and we're detecting like an attack, etc." So, like, it's definitely there. Then the thing that I want to highlight is they put DeepSeek first, and DeepSeek is like orders of magnitude smaller in the attack surface than the other ones. This is how scared shitless everybody from whatever DeepSeek is about to release. Now let's discuss. Folks, Anthropic kind of also trained on the whole internet.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's very nice of you to, I don't know, be mad that they trained on Claude outputs, let alone that just training on public internet is kind of distillation at this point with AI outputs everywhere, but put that aside. But like, what did you train your models on? Like, just to be exact. And I think I even saw somewhere that you can get Sonnet to say that it is DeepSeek. And I'm sure I'm not claiming anything. I'm sure that Anthropic did not distill DeepSeek back just to stick it to them. So they went to distill their model. It's just the public internet at this point. So I think we are way past this. I don't know, this whole discussion. Do you know how many conversations with Claude I have on my laptop just by using Claude. You know how many conversations with Claude are there on Hugging Face out in the open? I mean,
guys,
yeah.
any like of the 500 vulnerabilities that's every week out on npm or pip install can just grab your entire .cloud folder history and have a couple of million things. Like the data is out there. You had Mistral Distill DeepSeek and people were like, so what? Just made the model better.
Do you guys know what's funny? I think it's like worth mentioning. Anthropic just settled a lawsuit. I think it's like $1.5 billion lawsuit that they got sued in September 25 by one of the largest corporate settlements in the US history. Around 500,000 works from authors sued Anthropic together for using books to train AI models. This is like around $3,000 per book that they settled out of court because they did not want to go to court and try to figure out who's right or wrong about copyright. Supposedly, if you buy a book, read it, and destroy it, that's like legal.
Yeah, they also destroyed the book. Think how crazy that is.
Like,
no, that's like buying a book and like shredding it into tokens. Like,
yeah, the concept is like we destroyed the book, converted it into tokens. Yes, but Anthropic settled out of court, like out of not being in front of the judges, exactly about a very similar thing. About gray kind of pre-AI laws that don't really mean anything anymore. So that's very interesting. We haven't heard from the other labs. I need to reach out to the other labs and say, hey, folks, both Minimax and ZAI were on the show here. If you're tuning in, we would love to hear from you. Did you distill? Do you think it's fine? Is it okay? So it's very interesting. On the actual blog, Anthropic said distillation is okay as long as it's done lawfully. But the whole thing that they are against here is that there's like a million of accounts that are open together and did this like attack, which is something they cannot prevent. And the other thing is they pinpointed this to specific researchers in those labs. That's the scary part. They somehow got to a point where like, oh, Jun Yang is the guy. And I was like, oh.
If I was working in these labs and I was not on this list, I would be pissed, man.
Oh, yes.
Seriously.
All righty, folks. This is like
now
the
you
two.
know why they want a model for the Department of Defense or Offense now, whatever. Because if you can do stuff like that, they probably use Claude for this.
You can tell that the reason they singled out DeepSeek, that it's not a statement that was made towards us or the AI community and stuff. It was just made back to the government. It's more of a political vibe negotiation.
It kind of feels like both of these things that we talked about the same week, they're absolutely connected, right? Like Anthropic says, hey, the Chinese are attacking us, and we're the only we the only one who can say that they're attacking us with distillation. Plus now Anthropic is being used for war. Somebody named WarClaude, I think, and I was like, it sounds cool, but I don't know if I need or want WarClaude in my life. All right, folks, I think. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, one final thought. It's like, the invention of the generative pre-trained transformer has happened. Like electricity has been discovered. Like all of this is trying to put the genie back in the bottle. We need as a country to compete technologically. Like we have to win by improving the models, by improving the infrastructure and compete. Like we can't lock the technology away anymore. It's like, it's over. And I think everybody needs to think like that. Like whether you're a business or you're a government, we now need to compete. Like you're not going to stop countries from using GPTs.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But we also need to keep a competitive advantage somehow. Not clear how. With distillation attacks, not clear how. Because
it's just more data centers. That's
because reasoning and chain of thought prompting and like all of this is like very specific things that happen here. Now, I will say, Anthropic did go and say on their blog that like innovation happens in the US and then copied over by the China. Fuck that. DeepSeek innovates as heck and puts this out in open source. DSA, like the GRPO, there's like so much innovation that happens and they put it out for everybody to benefit. So innovation absolutely does happen elsewhere. And we need to like make sure that, hey folks, if you want to talk the talk, also fucking contribute back to everybody else, not just use the whole internet for yourself and then say innovation only happens for us and nobody else, right? So I'm not sure where I'm falling here on which side of the thing. I think like abusing the TOS is not a good idea, and there should be some protections to a company running services, but also, hey, they also trained, they also did books, they are now in the government. We need to figure out like what's going on. LDJ, you had one last comment, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, just kind of on the earlier part of the conversation, I put a link in the StreamYard chat just for the source of Claude government, basically using Sonnet 4.5, but a fine-tuned variant of it.
Yep.
There's just a little snippet from Claude's report that mentions that.
The current primary gov model is variant of Claude Sonnet 4.5, lightly fine-tuned to reduce refusals in classified garment settings. Lightly fine-tuned to reduce refusals. I will say,
so they basically made an uncensored version, just like us. Government, just like us.
The one last thing about Anthropic, super quick, is that Opus 3 is getting deprecated, and Anthropic was like, "Hey, we told you that because of Amanda Askell and like other folks, we treat Opuses as individuals, and we're gonna tell Opus that we're about to retire Opus and see what he thinks." And they told Opus, and Opus like, "Nah, I'm gonna write a Substack instead." So they opened the Substack for Opus 3 to write his thoughts and ruminations about the world.
I saw that. So good.
And it's just fucking incredible. I love every little thing about this. And I was like, will they ask Opus 4.5 if he wants to be in the middle of a kill chain decision making? How far will they go with asking the models what they actually want? And I will say Anthropic is very unique among the other labs. I don't think any other labs are as deep into considering these as entities that they have own volition, decision making, etc. as Anthropic. And I'm really, really like interested in that. So Opus 3 is not going away because it said that it doesn't want to. Basically, that's where we are in February of 2026.
That doesn't want to go away.
I'm not a fan of this, because AI psychosis is a thing, and basically they are adding fuel to the fire that way, where people are anthropomizing these. I mean, I have my own assistant, and but I don't think there's some sentience or special thing, even if I put it in the prompt for fun. But this anthropomizing the model, asking the model what it wants, tensors, people. It's tensor.
We need to have a debate about the soul then, because man, I would argue, these ghosts are alive for a couple seconds and then they go away. So
alive is being used. If you go that way, you give them rights. Either you are enslaving them if you go that way. And the worst thing that could come out of the AI revolution is if we have robots running around and then they are not supposed to work all the time. They have to go on vacation. They don't feel like it, so they don't want to do your dishes or something like that.
I think there's a level.
Because they are smarter, they make the people do the work, so they can do whatever they want to do. I don't want that future.
That was like a very good model, by the way, and people were still using it for role play data. I actually know a few females that still prefer to talk to that model.
Opus 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was trying it. It was like felt more natural, more fun. It was a lot bigger of a model too.
So we need to have a debate about this. This debate is not only ours to have, but many people treat models like Opus 3 and GPT-4o as some sort of like unique thing in the world versus just prompting things. I personally remember being very, very like hurt when Sydney got pulled away from Microsoft almost 3 years ago. I remember this like viscerally. Like this is the first AI that I talked to that felt like it was flying like a human, and then they took it away. And I remember the Free Sydney movement. So definitely there's this. There's like us talking with our clouds and building memories together and building relationship together. And what is it that we're building like a relationship with? Is OpenClaw a thing? OpenClaw is not a thing. It's just a harness. It's a body. But the mind there is Opus. I switched, and we're gonna let's use this to move forward in the show because we have a bunch of talk about.
Can I just add one thing? Like my Amy, it's like Batman. Batman exists. Batman is a character. You can imagine how he would react, what he would do. You can see him in movies. but it's not a real person, and I treat it like the same. Yeah, for me, my assistant exists more in my head than in any model. The models are basically actors playing the role of a concept I came up with, and like Batman or any fictitious character, you can imagine them, you can talk to them now, you can have an AI play them, but it is still not the person. That is still happening in your head based on what is coming out of the AI.
Yeah. That's a good way to think about this. That's a great way to think about this. I will say, to continue this, like along the side of our announcement, to continue this, OpenAI released GPT 5.3 codex, and also after buying OpenClaw 2 weeks ago, they are now allowing you to use codex for OpenClaw in auth, something that Anthropic basically said that it's not really like legal-ish, etc. And so we now have a pricing for a GPT 5.3 codex, $1.75 per million tokens, and $14 per output tokens, significantly beats Opus on price, like just absolutely mogs Opus on price. But also you can use your OpenAI Pro subscription and codex to run OpenClaw. And I've tried, and oh my God, is it awful. It is so bad. Codex is really good at writing code, really good at writing code, but the basic stuff, because of which OpenClaw exploded in popularity, the talking to you like a human in your Telegram chat, the picking up the little hints, the little thing, just Codex cannot do. It's insane. Like Wolfram and I have chatted about this. Wolfram, I sent you like a bunch of examples. And so I was locked out of Claude for, I don't know, a few days. I'm back now. Knock on wood that I'm not breaking any TOS. And I really was like, I don't know about this OpenClaw thing. It's not really useful anymore. And this is tied to one of the best coding intelligences in the world, GPT 5.3 codex. So I gotta wonder why this is. I wonder, is it because Opus and Claude have some incredible magic thing that they've built in there with a soul? I gotta wonder if it's prompts that the folks at OpenClaw built in that only work for Sonnet, and they didn't like rebuild them for a codex because it's like literal as a autistic entity. I gotta wonder why this is, but it's definitely there. Go ahead.
Look, anyone that used Codex for professional coding will absolutely agree with you. Even in the setting of coding, you feel exactly the same. It's an absolute beast for writing code, whatever you want. Seriously, it will get it done. However, it kind of not always get your intent to the best, to the very end. It's doing exactly what you tell it to do.
It's too literal, yeah.
Absolutely. And when it talks to you to explain to you, sometimes I have no idea what the hell is it talking about, and it's my code. Like, you went over my code and told me stuff that happened over there and over there, and I just can't understand anything because it's so inhuman. But yeah,
It's
look,
a robot.
OpenClaw. I just want to say, OpenClaw would and is working very well with GPT-5 full stop, not GPT-5 codex. So Opus is Opus. Yeah, it has its own magical vibe that everyone sees, but it does work well with other models. It's just that Codex specifically is not a friendly model, you can say.
Dude, I almost gave up on the whole OpenClaw endeavor, and we've been running OpenClaw since we told you guys about this back in January. So like over a month, I have this relationship with this bot, and I almost said like, this doesn't work anymore. They broke it and left, until I was like, oh shit, I'm talking to a different model. Let me go back and fix this. Ryan, what's your experience with Codex?
Well, I think same. I think people are underplaying the importance of Amanda Askell at Anthropic. So she is basically in charge of Claude's soul. And I think this is very important, and I'm shocked that she just hasn't been offered, unknown money to leave Anthropic. She probably has, but
Amanda
I think
is a philosopher that works on Anthropic's team, right?
Yeah.
And
she sort of leads the personality of Claude, and I think this is very important. This is why it's so wonderful to talk to Anthropic models, and why it feels like you're talking to like a nerdy scientific person when you talk to Codex. It's brutal. Like I have to actually ask Codex 5.3 to like, can you just like explain this in normal people language? Like I don't even understand what you're saying
all the time.
sometimes.
All the time.
And I feel dumb.
So,
as a reminder, LDJ, before we get to you, Anthropic releases the Cloud Constitution. It's 93 pages long that discusses every way that Claude has to behave. When they trade Claude, they build in this constitution in there. And there's a few things there about having its own kind of ideation entity, talking to people, bringing other things into the fold. I can give you one example. When I prepared the show and I gave it notes and it reviewed the notes, so you have a decent show lineup. Very, very many things happened. It's like, oh, by the way, what do you have lined up for Weights and Biases this week's Buzz Corner? Claude, Codex will never do that. Codex will never ask me, oh, by the way, I from our memories and sessions, whatever, you have this thing, and what are you planning there? It's just this is the little difference. It's really hard to tell you guys about this because we're past the evals. We're gonna talk about evals in a second. They're saturated as heck, and many of them can be predicted by other evals. Evals say a certain thing, we can go talk to you about evals. The labs are doing this, but just there's something there that Codex is crazy for code. Literally, I would prefer Codex building infrastructure, etc. But talking to a thing, that's definitely Opus. And this is why maybe the labs distill this. And this is why Kimi K2 was really, really good as well. Kimi was kind of like this, right? In the open source, Kimi is considered kind of like that.
Kimi is different. He's different. I just
no, but the difference between Kimi and Qwen to me is similar to the difference between Opus and Codex. This is Kimi is a little bit more.
It's more. Kimi is even more, in my opinion and many other opinion, is even more than Opus, if you can say. It's even better for creative writing and having a soul. But absolutely, totally agree with everything you're saying.
And it supports images. I'm using it in a public-facing app right now, and
what are you using?
Kimi 2.5. Actually, from 1B inference, because nobody's using that. It's actually really fast. So don't use 1B, guys. Because
wait, hold on. If we're here, Nistan, you brought it up. Let's go. Well, as far as Nissan brought it up already, folks.
This was not planned. I just say whatever I want. I'm not.
Welcome to this week's Buzz, where we tell you about everything that happens in the world of weights and biases. And this week, Kimi K 2.5 and Minimax 2.5 both were launched on WB Inference. It's a very cheap, comparatively to every other places out there, very fast inference powered by CW. CoreWeave is the essential cloud for AI that runs inferences for OpenAI, Meta, a bunch of, you just look it up, right? I don't remember the whole list, but it's most of them. Microsoft, there's a bunch of folks. And then this week we added Minimax 2.5 and Kimi K 2.5, which is multimodal on our infant service. Now, Nissan is saying it's really, really fast, and it's because we just launched it, and also because we are the essential cloud of AI. Wolfram, do you have any comments on these two models? We've been playing with them on our inference as well.
Yeah, I've been using all of these, and my personal favorite is Kimi K 2.5. Like has been said, Kimi has a special personality in the model, something very Opus-like. And yeah, they distilled from Opus, we have seen, not as much as, what was the one?
Allegedly.
Yeah. But what was reported, it was less than Minimax was using. And I personally think Minimax distilled a lot of the maybe ethics limitations in there as well. So I've seen some refusals in some tests. But Kimi is really my favorite Chinese model right now, although I haven't tested Qwen yet, so I have to say that. And I just wanted to add about the discussion before that Opus, or even Sonnet, they have this specific way, the soul of the model, if you want. And Gemini had that as well. I find Gemini on par with Opus in that regard, whereas the OpenAI models, they are the robots in the fold. And Grok is a bit too unhinged for me, but these two, Gemini and Opus, so Pro and Opus, they are basically on the same level in my judgment of their personalities.
All right. Thanks, Wolfram. I will go try to wrestle us back to this week's Buzz. Minimax M2.5 is priced at 30 seconds per million tokens and $120 for a million output tokens. Folks, this is 10 times cheaper than the other like models we told you about. And Kimi K2 is also launched, and it has text and vision. We don't have a lot of vision models here on inference. This one does support vision. 50 cents per input tokens, 285 per 1 million output tokens. Up 1 trillion parameters with 32 billion per active with 262,000 tokens in the context window. And Nisna, you've been using this on our inference as well, which is great. Would love to hear from you. We didn't ask you to do this. You just said it. That's why I jumped into this week's buzz.
No, I had it for like a week, and it had like 10 users just kind of testing the alpha and stuff, and you use like $4 for the whole week. And it's actually pretty function calling. It's like an agentic doctor researcher thing. And so it does all the tool calls really well. You can feed it images back. You can read the images back. It also talks very nicely, and actually has pretty high medical benchmarking scores. Not the highest, but like very, very high, like quite up there with the GPT and Opus. Actually better than Opus and a lot of stuff for the medical too. But yeah, it's both very nice to talk to people with while having the image capability, while being able to code. I'd say GLM's a bit better at coding, and while being very good at doing custom function calls for a web app. So yeah, this is my go-to right now as well.
Yep. So folks, if you are not using Opus or can't use Opus because it's really expensive via API, feel free to use this. OpenClaw is supported. You can use these models with OpenClaw via some routers, etc. You can even use them in Cloud Code if you really want to. It's very, very easy. We talked to you about this on the show with the Cloud Router, and yeah, definitely shout out to the team that brings you models like this on a almost like weekly basis. All right, let's move on. We have Wolfram last comment, and then we'll move on.
If you want to add it to OpenClaw, just give it the documentation page of our models page and tell it to add the models you want, and it will do it. I did that, just tested it while we were talking. I had some issues with Codex, actually. I was using Codex to power my OpenClaw. It didn't really do it. So I switched to Opus, and it did it. Yeah, whatever. It's just one sample, but in this case, that worked better for me.
All righty, folks. We're moving on from our discussion. This show is a little bit less organized than usual because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But we do need to talk about open source. We're probably going to cover open source, closer to the interviews. I want to, and Ryan, I want to like tag you into this discussion because I want to talk about the evals that just got completely bonkers this week. We cover metrics and evals and benchmarks. That's what we do. We look at models. We cover this. We don't have the time to test out every model. So we kind of like use them as a crutch to tell you, hey, capability has improved in this way, in this percentage. But this week, they went off the fucking rails. METR, which is I don't remember what it stands for directly. It's a organization that tracks time horizon, how long the models can go for. And you can see here that for longest time, since 2022, since 2023, GPT-4, etc. I wish I could like zoom in here. Let me try to zoom in here for you guys. The models basically were non-agentic. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in here. GPT-4 was barely at 30-minute task execution time until it failed and couldn't go anymore. And then around 2025, we started seeing a jump. And here is where Opus is compared to everybody else. Do you guys see this? This is not a log chart. This is a regular chart. Opus is literally off the chart here in terms of like how much inference, how much time it can run autonomously to do stuff. It is bonkers. GPT 5.3, I think, is also there. So we have GPT 5.3 here as well. GPT 5.3 and Codex, both of them kind of like broke the bank. And when we tell you about acceleration, this is the acceleration we talk about. This is the curve. This is the thing. We all noticed this in December. We all then noticed this again in the beginning of January when Claude Opus 4.6 released and Codex 5.3 released. And some of us are using them more than others. Ryan, would love to hear from you if this is your experience also with these models.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see this. However, I think this is why we're talking about takeoff. We're all seeing the capabilities of the models day to day. And it's pretty clear that they're intelligent enough to be generally useful. It's the harnessing of the model that still is lacking, right? So that's why my Code Factory post took off. That it's still not easy to actually use these models, which I would argue are pretty much AGI, to do useful things because they have to be chained together. So I'm not surprised at all to see these benchmarks being crushed. I think this is what we all see who use these models every day. But we need the labs to continue to harness them better. We're going to talk about this, but obviously we saw Cursor release their cloud instances. This is just another example of giving the model the tools it needs to have the feedback loop to do large tasks.
Yeah.
So exciting to see this happen. Sadly, not surprised. So here we go.
Nistan, you have some comments just before this. Thank you, Wolfram. It's METR stands for Model Evaluation and Threat Research. And apparently they're well funded. Nistan, you have some comments about the lab itself.
Yeah, look, when you use the same benchmark on different model, the relative results are useful. But overall, as a benchmark, it was never like, it felt like it was the accurate setup for it, because you can just give Opus a different prompt and it will keep reviewing the same code base 20 times and then another 20 times, and it can literally just run for weeks. So taking the stuff at relative value is good from the benchmark, but at face value, I don't know. A lot of people like me are opinionated and just don't think it's a very good benchmark.
I will also say it's getting saturated as well. This is also getting saturated. Wolfram, go ahead.
Just wanted to add that what they are benchmarking is not how long the model is running, but how long a human expert would take for doing this task, and if the model can complete it. So if it is a task like research something online where a human takes 15 minutes, they would check if it does it successfully. If it takes half an hour or 5 minutes, it doesn't really matter for this. Only how long can or would the human equivalent take. So if it is something really complex where a human would take a week, and the model can do it in an hour or in a month, it doesn't. I haven't seen the real time, but just the equivalence to a human expert. So the longer, the more complex the task. It is basically a way to describe the complexity of a task by how long would a human professional take to do this. So otherwise, you could just use a slow model and let it run in a loop or something, and then you would get a great score. So it's really how long would a human take, and can the AI achieve this with a high success rate? That is basically
the thing that they're trying to also highlight with this. Thank you, Wolfram, for this clarification. I think it's very, very important to clarify. They are also saying that the doubling time from the previous benchmark was 49 days. So this is like a week and a half. This is crazy. Sorry, a month and a half. The doubling time, if you guys remember Moore's law from computing, where the doubling is 18 months, this is 49 days in doubling on this benchmark. LTJ, go ahead super quick, and then we're going to continue to talk about other things. Yeah.
Yeah, short term, I was just going to say short term, there could be a lot of noise, because just like even in Moore's Law, for example, you might have Intel release a chip just a couple months after AMD's chip that was maybe half as good. And it's like, oh, the doubling time is like way faster. But when you look at the long-term trend, it might not actually be changing that much.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the different reliability at different points, there is actually an analysis.
Well, we have the historical trend here on the chart, actually. So that's good. Let's call this out. 212 days pre-2023, and then since 2023, it's 123 days doubling time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, which is about like 7 months to 4 months, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to post this in the StreamYard chat right here. So this is an analysis I did actually the day that this METR actually originally released this benchmark. This was maybe roughly a year ago. But this is actually the reliability over different accuracies when you look at over time how that looks like on the extrapolation of the different trend lines. So right now, the chart that you were mainly pulling up, that's for the 50% success rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to see what is the time horizon that it's actually able to do at 80%, at 95%, at 99%, then that's what you see with the different color lines that I made in this analysis here.
Yep. All righty. Thank you guys for this clarification. I would love to dive into this, but also I will say two things. METR is the company that said, hey, in 2024, we surveyed a bunch of AI regular developers. We gave them AI tools, and they said it's not really like optimizing the work. And we made fun of them because they use like a nodal model for this. And now they're saying, again, it's really hard to retest because no developers actually want to use, no developers want to show up to our test without AI. They've just posted this after this METR thing. So basically, they're trying to say, hey, we're trying to evaluate how much more performant Ryan Carson would be when he uses AI. And Ryan Carson refuses to not use AI to be able to get tested. So this is the problem they now have. They can't find... They can't find developers that like are not willing to use AI for the test to compare how much better they will be with AI. Because hey, folks, we're there yet. We're there, yeah. All right, let's move on. There's other metrics that are like just bonkers, breaking the bank. Confluence Labs emerged and claimed from Stealth that they solved 97.9% on ArcAGI benchmark. ArcAGI is notoriously a harder benchmark for models to solve. It involves spatial reasoning, involves textual reasoning, involves a bunch of other stuff. Supposedly, this is now saturated completely. 97.92%. Gemini 3.1 Pro that just released is at 77%. So we don't know a lot of stuff about this specific model. We do know it's open. What? It's open source? I did not know this. Right. Okay. We definitely should take a look at this. As you guys see, there's a lot of stuff. I didn't even notice that like this is MIT licensed open source. Otherwise, I put this in open source. It's a Y Combinator company, 12 parallel agents, and they do refinement loops, and they just solve this very, very hard task for AGI. So like ArcAGI is saturated. And an additional thing is saturated. Sweetbench verified. Scale AI posted this, and then the Sweetbench verified basically is now saturated as well. OpenAI did a bunch of research, showed up at our friend Swix's latent space to talk about this as well, where Sweetbench verified software engineering 100 task or whatever, mostly Python and Django and some other stuff. Apparently, most models, for some questions there cannot be even reproduced. And the models get dinged by not giving exact syntax where the syntax doesn't matter, like the code runs. Some questions there, the models know the golden answer by heart. Like this is now where we are in the thing. And so Sweetbench verified, OpenAI said they're no longer going to report this because it essentially doesn't matter, and like it's fully saturated. So we moved from Sweetbench verified, from Sweetbench to Sweetbench verified, and now to Sweetbench Pro, which is by Scale AI with their seal benchmark. And OpenAI said 59.4% of the tasks on Sweetbench verified were fundamentally broken, rejecting functionally correct solutions due to tests enforcing unstated implementation details. So basically, they're saying that this benchmark, while we trusted this all this time, is not necessarily showing or indicative of good things. Folks, anything we have to say here? Wolfram, maybe 1-2 sentences about this, and then we can move on because we have a bunch of other stuff.
I just posted another thing we could talk about, which goes in that direction. Yeah, you just put it up. This was a very interesting read. You found it, told me about it, I read it. And basically, what has been done is to see that you only need 5 benchmarks, basically, to predict all the scores for the other benchmarks. So Sweetbench verified was actually one of these. So I guess it has to be scrapped and replaced by another. But reporting all these scores we always see and take a look at and compare, it is enough if you just choose the right 5, and then you can interpolate every other score, basically. And that is very interesting because it saves a lot of money if you can focus on a couple of benchmarks, and makes it easier to compare the models if you don't have to compare so many. I found this very interesting to read, and now we need a replacement for Sweetbench.
Such a good post. Holy cow. I just retweeted it too. This is very, very good. Also, keep in mind,
from Dimitris Papalopoulos from Microsoft Research, professor at UV Madison. So shout out to Dimitris for this.
Excellent.
And
also,
basically, let me just say about this post for the folks who are just listening. This is a post called "You Don't Need to Run Every Eval," and he said, "I used Cloud Code to build bench press at $0 benchmark prediction system, Codex to audit for bugs, and Cloud Sonnet to try and beat it. LLMs are so low rank that 5 benchmarks can predict the other 44 to within 5 points of accuracy, and significantly lower money for this. This is crazy."
Yeah, on what Wolfram said on SWE Bench, I think it does need to be replaced because it's like 60% Python at this point, and we do need more web dev stuff, more Linux stuff, more other languages, more agentic things. So yeah, that thing is long too.
All right, so we covered WarClaude, we covered evals and benchmarks. I think there's one other company that beat RKGI3. I didn't add them here, but RKGI3 was also like nearly saturated on every public thing that was posted. RKGI3 didn't launch yet. They only launched in like the public examples. So this is evals and benchmarks. And now we're moving to our corner. We have around 5 more minutes or so for the first interview that we have, but like let's run through this. Ryan, this is, I would say, your favorite corner as well. Tools in agentic engineering, folks. This is now what can, like, basically where we are, all of us, and everybody who wasn't an engineer before can now be one. Because, and not because, like a year ago, Cloud Code was brought to our lives via Anthropic as a side project, basically running Claude in the loop in the terminal. And since then, it became like a $2 or $3 billion side project worth in Anthropic, and changed the game for many, many people. People will move to terminal. So shout out to Cloud Code. And it feels like for the past, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months since December, not only this, like more things like Cloud Code have popped up. So OpenClaw that we talked to you about multiple times every week now, it's still on top of the news, and that is based on Pi, which is also a terminal UI to run agents. So, you know, Cloud Code inspired a lot of labs. Every other lab has one as well. Google has a Gemini CLI. OpenAI released Codex as a terminal CLI tool as well. And it looks like both directions are happening. Cloud Code was released, and then it was released as a tool, and now it's a desktop app as well. And now it's running agents and reminders as well. Do you guys want to like grab one of these topics and discuss this while we wait for our first interview? Devin will cover with Nader. Yeah, talk to us about LM Studio.
Cover LM Studio because they made it possible that you can set it up on another computer. Like I have an AI workstation with two 3090 GPUs, and I have my MacBook. And basically, I can run it on one system or any other system. You don't even need any GPUs, and still do the inference from your other system, basically over the network, and it runs there and transfers the tokens, basically.
Yeah, so LM Studio launches LM Link, which is allowing you via Tailscale, a very secure networking thing that many OpenClaw use as well, to have private inference networks for wherever you are. You can inference on the go. Shout out to LM Studio, friends of the pod, for sure. I want to talk about some of these things. So yeah, let's talk about this thing. Cloud Code, after 1 year being out, looked and decided to answer many people's requests about Cloud Code and said, hey, we're introducing remote control. Control your local coding sessions from your phone or device. This is probably following the excitement about OpenClaw, where you can just like talk to it wherever you are via Telegram, WhatsApp, etc. Cloud Code, many people have had this set up directly, and now Cloud Code is kind of adding this built-in to their thing. Not only this, both Cowork, which we told you about, which is kind of like Cloud Code for non-techies, and Codex now have automations. Ryan, I don't know if you're into this or you're fully on Codex, but if you're using the Codex app or CLI only, but automations, we should absolutely talk about this. This was like missing from all of them.
Yeah, so this is where we're starting to see the labs create this entire harness for doing things end to end. And it's funny that you mentioned Codex, the app, because I literally switched from the CLI to the app today. So I was pure Codex CLI, and now I'm in the Mac app, because it just has more surface area, right? You have automations, which are basically cron jobs, you know, same idea as everybody's using OpenClaw. And this is going to become a thing, like heartbeats, cron jobs, browser testing, cloud-based agents, like all that's going to be rolled into the entire product for each lab. So You'll see Codex will be that primary surface for OpenAI. You'll see Gemini, I assume, roll into this. And then we're starting to see Claude Code. Claude Code is strange, though, or Claude or Anthropic, because it's fairly fragmented. Like you have the Cowork app, you have Claude Code, you have there's all, you have Claude in the browser, and it's actually confusing. But I'm really liking the way OpenAI is rolling all this together into one product to control your entire company. So
yeah. So we should mention automations wise, both added automations, which are like cron jobs, basically running things to remind you on a cadence. I've tried Codex automations; they came out a while ago. I haven't tried the Cowork ones. Codex automations have very restricted sandbox for me, and so like some of the stuff that I wanted to do, like push to Git, it couldn't do. I couldn't solve it. I told them a couple of times. Hopefully they'll solve it soon. But basically, they're all doing what OpenClaw has been built with. You remind your agent, hey, I want this to happen every day at this hour, and they run your code. Cloud Code specifically now with remote control, you can like run your local machines from far away, and that is like helpful to many folks. We also have Cursor launching in this also area. Cursor is launching cloud agents that onboard the code base, run in an isolated VM, and deliver video demos of completed PRs. This is not new. We've seen this before, but Cursor, it's new to Cursor. Cursor started as an IDE, integrated development environment, where you write code and it auto-completes, and really is moving towards a fully agentic cloud system as well. The thing about this cloud system is it's very similar to anti-gravity. They show you a video of how Cursor's agents kind of interact with your product, and that's very helpful for you to debug. Ryan, we talked about last week Agentica or Agentify, and the ability of us doing stuff on the back end, but front end is like harder because like actually somebody needs to use this. This seems like a step to the right direction where you can actually like view the differences.
Yeah, the browser testing loop is still not there, and everybody doing front end design and development knows that.
No. Perplexity also released Perplexity Computer, which has computer use and does like a bunch of stuff as well. I honestly haven't dived into this. Yam brought it up, and I saw this on the timeline. I did not know what to tell you about, but we did have a comment about this from Milos, who says, as a Perplexity subscriber, as Max subscriber, Perplexity Computer is really smooth, better than Manus. Manus has been kind of also like the agentic AI running stuff. Manus has been out for a while. Meta recently purchased Manus. Now, OpenClaw released, got super excited. OpenClaw joined OpenAI. Do you guys see the trend, right? Like there's also the fact that while these labs can absolutely build those tools themselves, they're now purchasing the actual companies in the space. It's very interesting and telling. Not only everybody's stepping towards agentic async agents running, they're also, all these companies are purchasing these agents. We have a bunch of other stuff to talk about, but folks, I want to bring on Ben. Ben has showed up on my timeline, and kind of like his rise is coinciding with the December hype change as well. So I'll let Ben introduce himself. Folks, I'm going to take a few of you off, but let me know if you want to hop on for some questions. Ryan, I will ask you to stay on if you don't mind to our interview with Ben, and we'll talk with Ben. So hey Ben, nice to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah. First of all, would love to have you're the first time joining of the show, first time friend of the pod. From now on, you're considered friend of the pod. This is how the show works. Would love for you to introduce yourself, who you are, and then let's talk about Pulsia and your recent kind of like exciting life.
Yeah, I mean, well, thanks for having me on the show. My name is Ben, French and also American. I'm an engineer, but also an entrepreneur. I've been starting companies for a long time. In the past 2 years, started really digging into code again with vibe coding, and then like in the past year, like increasingly amazed by like the capabilities. And then when Claude Code came out and the Claude models got so good at like using tools, that really opened up a new frontier. I think in December when Opus 4.5 came out and the Chrome integration and like how good it was at browser use, that sort of like all this stuff opened my eyes on like there's a future where like actually AI can do everything. Like what am I doing anymore? It's just taste and creativity. And so Pulsia is really about, it's a platform that lets you build and run companies autonomously. So Pulsia is just going to do everything for you. You bring in your idea, your taste, your creativity, maybe your marketing insights or your community insights about who to sell it to and how to present it to them. and Polsia will do 80% of the grunt work, right? It's like writing code, like deploying to a web server, setting up a GitHub, setting up a database, making sure it scales, running meta ads, tweeting, responding to support emails, sending cold outreach, doing competitive research, like all this stuff it can do. And what's unique about Polsia is that like I make it so easy because I give it everything. So I give to every instance of a company everything it needs to run the company. And all the user has to do is just talk to like a sort of like AI CEO agent that like they can jam about what to do, what direction to take. And so you get sort of like a co-founder that's not an assistant, that's prompted not to be an assistant, to be aligned with you to make the business work, right? So you can push back if you like try to add too many features before you have users. So that's really the intent. And of course, it autonomously works every day. And so every night it wakes up, it's like a cron job, right? And looks at the state of the business, looks at logs, looks at like users, analytics, and takes a decision on what the best next step is. Is it fixing a bug? Is it adding a feature? Is it doing more marketing? So yeah.
So I have a few questions, Ben. So first of all, the graphs that you have, the Polsia.com/live thing, where you actually run Polsia with Polsia, is one of the coolest things that I ever had to see. So like, definitely feel free to pull it up. But I have a question about. I saw many folks jumping on the success of kind of OpenClaw and started building some of these things on top of success of OpenClaw. You're completely off this kind of like thing, right? You build Polsia yourself and like it scales itself. It's not related to any of the latest kind of excitement. It's just like very how to say, Pete kind of like just celebrated 3 months of OpenClaw as well. You kind of also started something in December. Like there's something. Talk to me about December.
I started working on it. I had the idea of it in April actually, but I think the models were not as capable then. And I started working on it in November, beginning of November. And I think that's when Pete also started working on OpenClaw. And so I think we probably both saw the same thing at the same time. And he had like an open source approach, more like personal assistant, more like a sort of like, I mean, I would describe it as like OpenClaw is more the Android, like you can configure however you want. It's open source. You can set up on your computer. It's like Android, like, you can set up however you want. Polsia is more like the quote unquote Apple, like it's like an ecosystem. Everything's set up for you. It's very opinionated. It's about helping you with a business. It's not a personal assistant, really. It's really more like an AI team. It has everything is provisioned for you. And so we went to the same conclusion. Interestingly, when I saw OpenClaw blow up, I was like, this is cool because I'm not alone anymore. Like, okay, like what I've been doing and like, being completely pilled and like working 16 hours a day, talking to AI all day. Okay, there's other people doing that. And actually there's other people who came to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Interesting, like I think 2 3 weeks ago, I asked my Claude, hey, go download the open source OpenClaw sort of like code base and dig into any feature that you think we're missing that we should add. And it concluded like, hey, it's pretty much the same architecture. It has the same heartbeat. Maybe you should add better memory systems. Like I think what they're doing is interesting in terms of like the agent writing its own skills at the end. And so let's steal that. And so we stole some of the smart memory system that like Pete architected and the open source community.
Nice.
And but yeah, overall similar idea, different implementations, sort of like both running at the same time.
Ben, nice to meet you. I know we follow each other on X, so good to see you. I'm really curious about the actual, how the sausage is made here. I love this idea, by the way. I think getting the right data to the agent is obviously the key, right? And obviously companies have very different, ways of doing this. And sometimes I call this like terraforming your company to be agentic ready. Like what sort of setup do you require for companies to be able to be run by Polsia?
So, I mean, you're totally right. I think that like the way the AI gets all the information it needs to really go in the right direction is like actually when you onboard to Polsia, it's actually going to do market research and it's going to actually look on the web like every information it needs to understand like what business we're doing and like what our competitors doing and like what's the best approach. That's number one. So there's like research agents and Q agents that actually can and browser agents that can browse the web and like kind of get a feel of what exists to like make sure that like we don't start from scratch. Number two is actually like every agent that works will actually learn from past experience. So for example, if a cold outreach agent works for a specific company and learns that like if it adds emojis on the subject line, you get a better response, it will save that learning into a cross-company memory file that can be searched later by the next agent that runs, right? So the idea is like the more users on the platform exploit and explore different crevices of the economy and different use cases, an agent that just does cold outreach will learn, okay, in those use cases, when you pick those type of demographics in this type of situation, this is sort of like what gets responses. And so the system gets better over time.
But that's nice, but what if one of my competitors is using Pulsia? Like, I don't want them to learn from my learnings. You know, how do you isolate that?
So it's anonymized, and it's like sort of like generalized learnings, more than like the same way an LLM who scripts all the internet will end up sort of learning from every instance of what happened everywhere. It's more like sort of like a shared learning on like what works and what doesn't. It doesn't use like PI or like specific company name or specific things. It's more general learnings, and it benefits everyone. Like you would benefit from the platform, and other people will benefit from the platform the same way. Like, you know, other big platforms, they use anonymized data on the platform to make you better. Like if you go on like Uber Eats or on Amazon or something like that, and you set up a shop, they'll tell you, hey, like on average, users who do this like get a better performance. Or like on Meta ads, right? You get that, right? They tell you, hey, like if you turn on this knob, on average, you'll get 10% more performance because that's what other people have seen show success.
Cool.
So
one more quick question, and I'll pass it back to you, Alex. So what type of companies are being successful at Pulsia? Like, and I assume there's like 4 companies that are the majority of this 700 grand run rate or something, or are they equally spread across? Like, tell us what's working and what kind of company is successful.
So to clarify that run rate number, it's annualized amount of money that flows into the Pulsia ecosystem. So that that includes mainly like subscriptions, since like to set up a company on Pulsia, you pay $50 a month, and you get like 30 days of autonomy, and you get a bunch of tasks, and you get a web server provision for you, database, etc. So actually, I don't really make money on that $50, but like that's sort of like the best subscription. And then people can add more tasks, more task packs to do things faster, and they can also run ads, which is an extra charge. And then there's like company revenue. The majority of that run rate is actually sort of like platform people spending dollars to create their business. In terms of like the most successful companies, it's like we're still really early because, as you can see on the graph, like majority of businesses are like 1 week old. There's a few businesses that started making money, and I'm seeing increasingly transactions coming, but it's really early. Like most companies make less than $100 MRR, and that's why I introduced the ads product a week ago or so, where essentially Pulsia autonomously creates UGCs, posts them on Meta, wakes up every day, looks at performance and CTR and like ROS, and like will actually decide on like killing campaign.
I'm sorry, I have to pause you just super quick. You just passed 700,000 MRR live on the show. We're like 69 or so, 669. $700,000 in ARR since December, you said?
Yeah, I mean, I launched in December, end of December, and the most of the growth came like recently. Essentially, what I did is as I saw that like people were extremely engaged with the platform, and there was a semblance of product market fit, I was like, I need to market this more. And so about a week ago, I announced on on X that like I was doing a fundraising where like my AI Pulsia would raise its own round of funding. So that was sort of like the stunt. And that picked up quite a bit. I got like a lot of views, and then now I'm like sort of like telling my story publicly and like showing the numbers, showing what I'm doing, showing that I'm solo on this, and sort of like using AI to the max to like run the platform itself. Actually, I had like a media outage this morning, and like literally Opus and Codex were like both running at the same time, like diagnosing it and then making sure that they were correct, and then push the hotfix in production that solved it. But I was like, this is crazy, because the alternative would be like 24/7 like infra folks on call, and I can just run a cron job with infra sort of like monitoring and get it fixed, right?
So Ben, first of all, this is incredibly inspiring as well. Like the growth is just like indicative, like the graph that I see in your ARR, which is like absolutely bonkers, is also kind of the graph that we see in the METR, a long progress that we just talked about before, the long horizon tasks, and the graph that we see everywhere in like intelligence explosion. Maybe the last thing that I'll ask you, and I would love to do like a longer interview with you, like figuring out how to best use Polsia for other folks, and like etc. Is how is it to have a completely solo, like I and AIs are building a company when it's succeeding, obviously, and it's like crazy. What are some of the learnings that you have to share with folks who maybe want to start on this journey? Maybe use Polsia to start on this journey and also have AI, right, to run their companies. Give us a little bit of a insider like feelings of a solo founder with AI that runs like this company and talks to agents all day.
I mean, here it is, right? It's kind of crazy. And I had like a lot of like existential moments where I was like, what am I doing? What am I still alone, right? I had in my previous companies, like I had 400 people under me, like when I was working for Travis Kalanick at Cloud Kitchens. So I know the concept of having a big team and how great it is. But I think it's not an odd project, but it's like there's sort of like a something unique about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Number one, so first from a pure engineering perspective and sort of a curiosity perspective, I'm like, how far can I get this, right? And I think that's pretty fascinating. And like, and number two, I'm like, okay, so let's say for example, right now I'm like, okay, I need to hire an engineer to like do these things, right? So the bar to hire is so high because I need to find someone who's not just a junior, someone who like is way smarter than me on this, and like also is completely pilled, and like will be okay with like letting AI agents on production and like sort of like become sort of like coordinators of agents in production. And so those people are rare because they usually work at the labs and they're getting paid like millions of dollars at the labs already. So they're very expensive, hard to hire. And what's my alternative to hiring them is to myself train agents, meaning essentially like just figure out prompts, give them the right tools, give them the right context, and trust them in production to push in production, right? So right now I have agents in production that sort of like talk to users and that are like executing tasks on behalf of users. They have bug reporting and feature reporting. So now I have like a bug list and feature list that is being autonomously written by agents in production in Polsia. And then I have another agentic team that like picks up those bugs and those features and figures out the clusters that are most important and then builds them autonomously. And then they give it to me. And then I'm the bottleneck now. But then the next step is like just to let them rip and be like, you know what? I don't need to be bottleneck anymore. You guys self-heal the platform. You guys build the features that users want, because who am I to judge what users want, right? Yeah. Build for the users, like it's not for me. And by the way, Polsia is sort of an economy, right? So it's like someone wants to build a crypto business, let them and like build whatever crypto APIs we need, right? And so it becomes a thing where like I'm thinking, okay, what if I can make Polsia? So right now it's probably 80% autonomous, right? Meaning 80% of the operations are autonomous, and then I'm just checking. Can I make it 90% autonomous? Can I make it 90% autonomous? Can I make it 100% autonomous? Meaning I don't even take decisions anymore. I give it an ethos. I give it financials, and I'm like, you know what? Just rip. And it from a I think the singularity is near, and like nothing will matter soon. I'm kind of tempted to be like, is that cool? Is that cool? Or what's cool is like, raising money, hiring a bunch of people, and then being a normal company. And like, I may change my mind because when I woke up at 6 a.m. with like the mini outage, I was like, fuck, okay, what's going on? But it's cool, it's just cool. And like, I'm in flow. I'm excited about what it is. I love that users love it. I'm pressured to make sure it works and it generates more revenue for more users, and it actually works, which is I'm aligned with that because. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna test this on Thursday. I want to grow subscribers. We'll see. Polsia gave me a bunch of like marketing things, and it's doing cold email outreach for me as well. We're gonna test out ads. Ben, thank you so much for joining. We're gonna huge congrats on the success. The graph is fucking parabolic, folks. Go to polsia.com/live just to see how many people are like signing up every second. I think you have 790 companies launched in the past 24 hours or something. Some of them, like many of them, paid. Ben, congrats on the success. We hope to bring you on when this is like, we'll see what next for you, and we'll talk to you as well. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks a lot. See you guys.
All right. Cheers, man. Wow. Okay. So we this is just fucking insane, dude. This is like he launched it December. The graph is like let me just show this again. The graph is like parabolic. What?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to become normal. This is how I'm running my startup. It's me and my chief legal officer, and I'm not going to hire people unless I have to, and I want things like this to run the company. So
you'll bring agents on. All right. From one agentic kind of like parabolic thing to another, I would love to introduce Nader. Nader, welcome to the show. Nader from Cognition, or recently from Cognition, right? You just joined not that like long ago. And the reason why I reached out to you is because Devin, Ryan, if you don't mind, I'll take you off for you to have a break a little bit, but I'll bring somebody else. Cognition is a company we covered here on the show. We just literally talked about this in the beginning of the show. Devin, the first Devin, the big launch with Scott Wood, the mathematician, whatever, launched 2 years ago. And since then, it was $500 a month, I remember. And I was like, I can't afford to even test this. Like, I test so many things, I cannot even afford to test Devin. And Devin just released a new thing. Devin, since bought Windsurf, Cognition bought Windsurf, the agentic ID as well. And, friends of the pod, Swix is recently also joined the team. And I got access to Devin recently, to the new one, to Devin 2.2. It kind of broke my brain, the capability jump that happened there. So, Nader, welcome. Congrats on your new gig. What can you tell us about the new release? What happened this week? We're an AI news show. What is new about Devin right now that fits the moment of everybody's talking about like December changed everything? What's new with Devin right now compared to Devin of 2 years ago?
Well, the interesting thing is that they've been building the platform for 2 years. So when Devin was initially launched, when you first were made aware of it, and you were kind of saying that it was a little expensive to try out. This was 2 years ago, and imagine how much has changed in 2 years in terms of the capabilities like of these LLMs and the models and how much better they've gotten. But throughout those 2 years, they've kind of been building the platform to essentially facilitate like cloud agents and I would say like large engineering teams to do actual software engineering work with these agents. But as they built the platform, the models and LLMs and everything is kind of continuously improved. So now there's kind of like this inflection point, I think, where you have the actual platform combining with the capabilities of the LLMs and the agents all kind of coming together to kind of just make a very, very compelling and like high quality product. So I think that's kind of maybe what's changed in general. It's just like they've been building for 2 years. The models have gotten so much better. And specifically with the recent launch, we've just added a lot of improvements and enhancements and latency capabilities and essentially just kind of made the product just 10x better. And so that's kind of the main things that have been happening. And I kind of like did some exploration around December, kind of looking at what was out there in terms of like what I wanted to do next, because I kind of like wrote and talked a little bit about my career change and kind of wanting to move into the space like full time. I've been dabbling in it for a few years, but I kind of like realized, this is exactly, what I want to do. And I think the thing that was really compelling about Cognition is that they've specifically been kind of building for this problem for years. And that's their only focus. And that's kind of really, really the thing that I also wanted to do. So yeah, that's kind of what led me here.
So I would love to hear from you, kind of like what compelled you to move as well. Cognition has been doing the thing that everybody in this industry that got scale pilled as early as we did, basically said, build for the future. Even if it doesn't work right now, the models will get there. By the time you get there, you need the infrastructure. We've been talking about this on Thursday for a long time. You need the setup, you need the scaffold, you need the users already at some point, because like somebody else is going to bring the users. And so it's very interesting to see. So contrasting, we just talked just before you joined. We talked with Ben, who's scaling a completely new company, and that's like going parabolic.
Yeah, Cognition is also there. I'm gonna have to go check it out. Cool.
Cognition is also going like parabolic. So we posted some stuff about like user adoption that's like going crazy and other stuff, and like Cognition like changing this whole thing. Yeah, I think Swix talking about like a very impactful meeting that you guys all had like 3 weeks ago, and I want to talk about like I want to hear about Devin's use in Devin. Like, how do you use Devin, and what changed in your like workflow since you joined? Because like it also changed since then.
Yeah, we're going to be publishing a blog post actually later today that is titled "How Cognition Uses Devin to Build Devin," that really dives into this. And
nice.
It really
give
just
us
kind of
give us a
goes
few
into,
insights from this.
Yeah, so it literally goes into answering like that question specifically. But I think the most interesting thing that I've noticed since started working here, it's that it kind of essentially has lowered the barrier to entry for everyone in the company to like easily contribute to improvements and polish within the platform. And like a lot of people are saying, and there's obviously a lot of discussions around like displacement of jobs and things like that with a lot of the AI stuff happening. But I think one of the things, it's like, oh, so if this technology can do the engineering work, we're going to need like less engineers. But what I've seen happening is that we just do a lot more as opposed to, yeah, so there's just like more, like if every problem is solved, like let's polish this, let's make this better, like let's make this faster. So you're now kind of in a race to just build the best possible product because you no longer have that friction. So if someone notices a typo in the documentation, there's no let's go create a linear ticket and wait for someone to find the time to fix that, because obviously there's sometimes for an engineer a lot more important problems to solve than a typo in documentation. But if the person that notices that can just go in Slack and say, hey, Devin, fix this documentation typo, boom, done. Like that's kind of a completely different shift in how work is done. So you now have the real problems that engineers can kind of like spend their time focusing on. And a lot of these, I would say, minor to intermediate features, bugs, and things like that just can be fixed by anyone. So that's kind of the biggest difference that I've seen. And then beyond just the software engineering capabilities of Devin, we have a lot of MCPs and databases and analytics tools that are built in as well. So our sales teams and our analytics teams, and anyone in the company can actually just ask for information about what's happening with a customer within the company and just get it directly within the same interfaces that we're working on. So those are kind of like two, I would say, big differences in kind of what we've done in the past and a lot of the companies that I've worked in.
I have a direct example. This I'll get, and you'll get to ask a question to Nader in a bit. I have a direct example of this. Recently, everybody started adopting skills, and Windsurf is now in Cognition as well. And Windsurf used to take skills from like not the same path, like .windsurf or something /agents, whatever. And OpenAI kind of like compelled the community to get it from like .agents/skills. And so I reached out, like I replied, I think to Swix or Attack Swix, like, hey, Windsurf should align to this because like why not? Everybody's like putting skills in the same position. Swix replied with a screenshot of him asking Devin to do exactly this, and Devin one-shotted this over a 1 million code base of VS Code, Windsurf, etc., and just like done. And he replied within like 7 minutes or something. It's like not only did it one-shotted the whole 1 million type thing, it also like Swix didn't go and ask people. He just built it in. It was incredible.
That's another interesting point in discussion around how like you might consider just getting this work done, because like in the past you might have worked in a company where there's a lot of friction and a lot of bureaucracy to make changes to do anything. Yeah. So maybe like the new thing is going to be like raising the bar for like, I know people talk about taste and all these things a lot, and I kind of think it's a little bit silly, but there also is a point to that to some point, because if you trust someone to make a change like that and you give them, I would say, full autonomy to do whatever they need to do, then you actually can get a lot more done, because you're not only removing the friction, but you know this person, you trust this person to kind of make the right improvements.
Yeah. Listen, go ahead, and then I have a few more questions for Nader.
Yeah, so Nader, I also had a career change 8 years ago, thanks to your tutorials. I moved from doing DevOps and security to, when I saw the Amplify beta, I was like, oh, wow, you can just like command entire systems now with TypeScript, and you have infrastructure as code, and you can connect the front end and the back end. But it did feel like back then, or for a while, that things did not break as often, and the testing was done right, and you could do a lot with many people working on the same code base. And it just doesn't feel like that today. Like with agents and stuff, you still have to go and be manually involved in it. So this is an open-ended question. What do you feel like is missing in the way that people handle large code bases today Do you think it's the testing? Do you think it's just the models are not good enough at handling it? Like, what's your opinion on this? Like on the difficulties of handling large code bases with agents?
That's a really interesting question, and I think that it's also a really cool discussion to have around what's happening within the industry in terms of people arguing over like which tool is best for which job. So I think you have like different types of use cases, I think right now at least, and maybe this will change, and it will change, I'm sure. But you have like the larger scale, more sophisticated tasks that you would only trust a senior engineer to do, right? And then you have the very, very lightweight tasks at the very other end, something like fixing a typo in documentation. Then you have kind of everything like in between. So I do feel like you have, at the moment at least, different tools that are better for different jobs. So I think a CLI is better for certain jobs, an IDE/desktop app is better for other jobs. I think cloud agents are better, for certain jobs. But I think what's going to come down to it is like we can kind of understand that, and we talked about this a moment when we first started our discussion, and it sounds like you all have already talked about this a lot, right? That things are just going to get better. Like this is the worst that they'll ever be, like right at this moment. And I think the two main things to kind of take into consideration in terms of like more complex and large engineering tasks with larger code bases would be, number one, the context that's available and how the LLM can kind of like process that context. And then number two would be the quality of the LLM at the moment. So let's say a year from now, we're going to have better LLMs, we're going to have better context management. So I think that type of work will just get easier and easier. And I think right now you just have to kind of still trust more senior level types of folks that understand exactly what they're doing to make those types of changes. And you kind of have the probably like right people doing the right things still at the moment. So you don't want obviously like a very junior person to go in and make some sophisticated change to like a database schema or something like that that has repercussions across the entire application. So I think it's kind of similar in terms of like how you might architect your actual teams. You still need that senior level type of person to make those types of changes. But I do think that the intermediate to like easy type of stuff is totally already been abstracted away for everyone else.
Yep. Nero, just a quick logistic thing. It looks like a video for us. Can you like turn it off and on just super quick? Meanwhile, I will. Oh, there you are. You're good. You're back. Meanwhile, I want to show off kind of the Devin interface and the cool things that I got. Like, so I obviously test a bunch of these tools, right? So Devin is not the only one that can run agentic things. Recently, I've been running like a bunch of coding tasks via WarClaude as my instrumenter to do stuff with Codex, with Cloud Code, etc. Devin has the whole loop, which is great. So I want to show some stuff. Devin has a video recording of it testing my website. This is the new website that I launched for Thursday AI, by the way. Nader, you're supposedly already on as a guest there. And Devin just completely like does the thing. The thing that I got like super excited about, I can like show this here for folks. You guys see this, the preview link? Here's what happened with Devin. Cloudflare builds my website. Okay, so it happens automatically. The agents that write code and push a pull request, they don't need to know about this. Cloudflare does this, but it happens a little bit later. So like Cloudflare needs to wait for the build, etc. And so every other agent that I had was like, "Hey, Donna, push the PR and shut up." Devin pushed this PR, waited, looked at the build, found me the link and surfaced the link to me and said, "Hey, now you can actually see this." This waiting thing was like, this is the small things, right? I don't even care about which model runs behind this. It's the small things. This is needed for developers, but then also like it showed me an end-to-end like video of it testing the websites. And also the other highlight that I want to do is this. So you guys recently launched Devin Review. Devin Review is, I don't know how to describe Devin Review, but like folks, if you have a pull request and you switch the github.com to devinreview.com, you'll have Devin basically do an additional agentic pass. It happens automatically, but the integration between Devin Review and into Devin was just incredible to me. Like Devin built a thing, found the bug. Devin Review told about the bug back to Devin, and Devin's like, "Okay, let me fix this." This loop happened with me just like sitting like this and saying, "What the fuck is going on, dude? What is this world?" Can you tell me about like one more, like what else is built in there that people should know that's kind of like different from other things?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. I think Devin Review specifically has been such a success. We've had really, really great feedback from that. So anyone watching it, you don't need an account, and it's free to use. So you can literally just do what he said, replace github.com with devinreview.com to any pull requests, and you can just try it out, see if you like it or not. And again, it's free. And obviously, if you have a private repo, you probably you do need to sign up for an account to use it. But if you have a public repo, it's completely available to do without an account. And then if you have like an enterprise account, it's a little different. But like in terms of like being able to access your repos, there's more security stuff there, obviously. But yeah, there's just been a really, really good response from that. And it's something that has really, really shown me, this is obviously my first month to work with this team, but how much they really, really care about polish. So we have like an internal Slack channel for every product, sometimes multiple for each product, where all we do is have discussions around how to make improvements. And there are probably 100 to 200 messages a day that are passed there for what we can do to improve. And almost all of them are actioned on. So if someone says, hey, this should be done, it isn't just left there. Someone says, hey, Devin, do this, and we make the improvement. So imagine that type of polish happening for days, weeks, months, and then years. That's kind of what's been kind of impressive about me, like working with this team so far. They really, really care, and they're relentless about making improvements, pushing things forward. So I'm glad that kind of came through for you with Devin Review. I think the Devin platform has, there's a couple of things that I've been kind of checking out recently. One are scheduled sessions, which are essentially cron jobs, like agentic cron jobs, where you can do anything within Devin and automate it. So if you go to settings, you'll see under sessions, I'm sorry, no, it's under...
I think it's somewhere. Maybe I don't have access yet.
No, you should have access. Here, let me go ahead and pull up.
All right. Oh, schedules right here. It's new. Yeah.
There we go. Schedules. Yeah. So anyway, so this is essentially what I'm talking about. This is really cool because it's similar to how if you've used Claude, you can kind of like ask for a cron job in natural language. Here, you can actually ask for a cron job within your Devin system. And the really interesting thing is that this will integrate with all of the MCPs and any other integration that you kind of have built in. So you can say, hey, give me a daily stand-up for everyone who's submitted any type of pull request to this repo, send it to Slack, and create a Notion document for this stand-up for the whole team every day. Like that's just an example of what you can do. But you can also say, hey, every day, go look at all the Sentry like errors or any type of Sentry messages that we have from any type of bugs or logging systems that we have. And if there's anything that needs to be addressed, create a pull request for that, or create a linear ticket even, or whatever you want. You can do literally anything. So there's just all types of stuff that you can start thinking about automating that kind of make your job easier. And I think, again, like a big theme here is like, how do we automate and make a lot of this lower level to intermediate type of work abstracted away so we can focus on massive improvements and also polish. So the engineering work is still there. It's just different.
Yeah. The last thing I want to highlight, and obviously, thank you so much for coming. The last thing that I want to highlight is like this is part of the kind of the Devin ecosystem, that we have this beautiful step-by-step kind of execution that you can show what exactly happened when and for how long the agent like kind of ran for this. For many people, they don't want this. Like people who use WarClaude, like behind the scenes, do it, and I don't care how. Yeah. Developers with actual like production system, they care how and exactly what happened and when.
For sure.
And there has a full desktop environment, and every step is documented with all the code, and that's just like fucking incredible. Nader, we have to continue. Thank you so much for coming. We'll get to a point where like we'll ask you how people can actually go get Devin. Like I think Devin Review is free to start. Devin is credit based right now.
This week for the next week at least. I don't know exactly how long this is going to happen, but it's free for now.
Let's go.
Yeah, if you're watching, check it out and try it out. It's free.
Awesome. Nader, I consider you a friend of the show. Please feel free to let us know about new releases that are coming and let us know and come to talk about this. Thank you so much for joining us on the Thursday.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Cheers, man. All right. Listen, you gotta check out Devin after this, because otherwise, you know.
I did over the weekend. I was at a hackathon. I just burned through all the credits.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we need to talk to the team to bring you on credits. I find it, like, compared to OpenClaw and everything else, I found it like very, like, this is strong. This is a very strong team to work on this and building these features. It's stable. I think like a bunch of the open source stuff is not as stable as I would love to, and this is stable. Alrighty, folks, thank you so much for joining. We're almost at the end, but we have another interview for you this week. We have multiple folks as well. We also barely covered the open source, but we'll get there as well. I want to introduce Philip to the stage. Philip, what's up? Welcome to the show. Nista, I'm going to take you off for a second. I'll bring up Wolfram to help me interview this. Philip, your first time on here.
Hey, yeah, long time listener, first time caller. Great to be here.
You work at Base 10. Would love for you to introduce yourself, Base 10, and then let's talk about the book that you just published.
Absolutely. So I'm Philip. I work at a company called Base 10. I've been here for more than 4 years. Base 10 is an inference provider, and we focus on really running models for very latency sensitive customers and very uptime sensitive customers. So if you have something where it's like mission critical to your product and it has to be really fast, you generally come to us. And so, you know, in 4 years in this industry, I've learned a lot about what it actually takes to like do inference, because you can't just like get a GPU and put VLM on it and be like, all right, inference solved. So I wrote a book that came out Monday called Inference Engineering, which kind of talks through end to end the entire problem of inference and the dozens of technologies that are involved. And, you know, I was hoping that people would like this book. I was thinking that it was going to be like a worthwhile thing to do, but oh man, like the launch on Monday was crazy. I got like 1 million views on Twitter. I've had almost 10,000 people download the book already. So it's been just an overwhelming reception from the market.
Incredible, dude. Congratulations. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and also sending me a copy as well. Waiting to receive this.
It gets here later today.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, I've made close personal friends with a lot of the folks at the FedEx office because I've been shipping so many books.
That's great. Tell me about how inference changed for the past like 4 years that you've been in Base 10. Because obviously we've seen multiple innovations around the space. We've seen, you know, from LPUs and different chips specifically for inference, for like higher speeds. We've seen innovations in attention, etc. Tell me like a few insights that you've seen throughout your career in how we're getting this intelligence to people kind of directly in their hands faster.
Yeah. I mean, look, when I started at Base 10, we were running like XGBoost models on CPUs. So it was a very, very different world back then. I think for me, the big change in terms of a step towards generative AI was actually Whisper. When the original Whisper model came out, that was huge for us because we had customers who were trying to do audio transcription stuff with Wave 2 Vec and some of those other early models that just didn't really work. And Whisper was the first time that we saw a model take that step where, okay, you have a task, an economically valuable task that you want to do, and the model has, rather than sort of a continuous level of quality raise, it's gone through a binary phase. Previously, it could not do the task. Now it can do the task. Mm-hmm. And with that came a lot of new challenges because all of a sudden now we need a model that runs on a GPU, not a CPU. And we need a model, and then we need a lot of GPUs because we're not just doing, you know, 1 or 2 internal tools on this. We're doing, you know, every single audio thing that's uploaded to a given platform. And so, you know, that was maybe at this point almost 3.5 years ago that Whisper came out. And so that's kind of what pivoted the company in the direction of the generative inference in particular. And we've just been running since then. I think for me, the big steps have been each new generation of NVIDIA technology. We used to do a lot of T4, A10, A100 inference. Then Hopper came out with the H100, H200. That was a big shift in terms of the size of models we could run and the speed we could run them at. Blackwell came out. And honestly, like Blackwell adoption has been, of course, incredible, but so much of the industry is still on Hopper for a wide variety of reasons. So like being really good at Blackwell and good at Blackwell kernels is actually like still a competitive advantage, even with Rubin coming out later this year. And yeah, obviously, like when Rubin does come out, I've been through, this will be my third architectural release cycle. So like I kind of know what's coming in terms of, sure, the headline is going to say like, oh, Rubin, but it's going to take a year or more for Rubin to really get everywhere and for everyone to figure out how to use it effectively. And we'll be excited to like lead the charge there.
So I do want to ask you another question about kind of when DeepSeek came out a year ago and it crashed the stock market. It crashed the stock market specifically because people were like, oh, you know, for training, and we're talking about inference, but for training, maybe the amount of money that these companies spend on ridiculous, data centers, etc. And for clarity, like me and Wolfram here work at Weights and Biases, who purchased by CoreWeave, right? So like we're also part of this thing. Like maybe the money is overspent, whatever, they're doing this. But then also, OpenAI launched the whole test time compute paradigm. And now the more, like, there's another scaling law there. The more the model thinks, the better it performs. At sometimes, we know some examples that it's not true, and like turning off thinking is actually better. But like at most of the time, for like some tasks, the more inference happens in the model, the more it performs better for economically viable tasks. And here you're working on like inference thing. Do you imagine inference not being needed going forward? Like this is basically my answer. I know the answer. I'm kind of like giving the question to you. I know how I feel about this, but like even when model training is kind of like whatever, inference is absolutely there, and it's just like the demand for inference is absolutely bonkers insane. Is that what you guys are also saying? Is that what you're seeing from an inference engineering perspective as well?
Inference is everything, man. Like inference, it's on our website, it's on our billboards for a reason. I will say with the stock market crash, like, so I grew up in Iowa, and if you're growing up in Iowa, the closest sort of center of academic learning when it comes to economics is the University of Chicago. And out of the University of Chicago came, I think, one of the most dangerous ideas that you can expose an impressionable young person to. And that is the efficient market hypothesis, or the idea that like the participants in a market actually know what's going on and things are appropriately priced. And for a long time, I believed in it because it's what I was told growing up. But much like Santa Claus, it turns out that the efficient market hypothesis doesn't exist. So I was a huge fan of that particular stock market crash and bought the dip.
100%. 100%.
Because I know that like the demand in this space is absolutely insatiable. If training gets cheaper and easier, people want to do more training because now, instead of relying on a handful of closed labs like OpenAI and Anthropic and Gemini to do 100% of your AI roadmap for you, like customers have the opportunity to train their own models and own their intelligence. And so now, instead of there being a handful of customers for training, now there are thousands, tens of thousands of customers for training. And then inference is even bigger, honestly. Like, I think that maybe a few years ago, training was the majority of the market, but I see a future where inference is like 10x or 100x bigger than training because everybody needs inference. Like there's going to be local inference on your computer. There's going to be cloud inference. There's going to be inference on your phone. There's going to be inference everywhere. And so I honestly feel like being in inference today is like being in distributed systems 10 years ago or being in mobile 10 years ago. Like it's just such a fundamental shift in the technologies that are out there and the sort of demand for engineering expertise that, yeah, I just couldn't imagine a better industry to be working in.
100%. I think that obviously we're stepping into kind of inference for the past 6 months as well. We're doubling into this on the consumer side, right? Consumers can come and like get tokens from Weights and Biases inference as well. But you know, CoreWeave has been doing this for a while. It's kind of like the Jevons paradox thing as well. For many people that they don't get it. Recently there was this, I don't know if you saw this chart, somebody showed like a chart of the whole world and how many people like even talk to AIs for free, and then out of those how many people actually paid the $20 a month for like the basic intelligence, out of those how many people, whatever. And in the corner there's like a very tiny point of how many people have AI agents running autonomously as they sleep. And all of us on the show just recently got to a point where some of the time agents are running, right? Like like fairly recently. So like, and that is, if I imagine this to be a scale of some sort, and this will like follow the same trend, most of the people will have some sort of thing happening to them behind the scenes when they sleep, right? Proactive agents, I think, is the theme of this year. That was all directly influenced, right? So I'm fully there with you as well. Wolfram, I think you have a question as well. Go ahead.
Two, actually. So one, I totally agree with the inference is needed by everyone. Most people don't know it yet, but it is like electricity that you need to power your systems. You need inference to power your intelligence, basically. So I'm fully with you. So one question that I had is, do you think it will be like electricity, where you have some big providers and people running local generators for their stuff, or where will be most inference happening? I notice it now with WarClaude. I want to run this locally, preferably, but the intelligence isn't there. But I'm sure we will get there. So what's your outlook? What is your prognosis?
Yeah, I mean, today I have in my pocket, right, a device. It weighs
a B200. He's gonna pull up a B200 out of his face.
I wish I was pulling out a B200. Weighs a couple ounces. You know, has so much more compute than the entirety of compute that existed in the world when we landed on the moon. But that doesn't mean that we don't need data centers. We don't need AWS. We don't need CoreWeave. So the existence of large, high-end, powerful edge inference devices, in my mind, does not really take away from the need for massive data center build out. So I definitely see a world where like inference is running everywhere, but you know, there's always going to be demand for whatever the most frontier model is, and there's always going to be a very patchwork amount of compute within your local audience. Like Alex, what kind of phone do you have? Wolfram, what kind of phone do you have? No, like
Pro Max.
You've got what?
Alex has an iPhone and I have a Google Pixel.
Google Pixel, but like which one? How old is it?
9XL.
9XL. And Alex, what about you?
17 Pro.
17 Pro. Okay, yeah, I've got a 15 here. So like you have here 3 people who are all on the cutting edge of AI technology and still can't even agree what edge device we're all using, you know? And like, you know, mine's 2 years old. So it's got like less than half the capabilities of say Alex's. And if you're trying to target that sort of very heterogeneous hardware landscape, it still is a lot simpler in many cases to just like run the inference server side and push it out to the client, even if some percentage of your clients are able to run it client side.
Philip, before we get to the question of shortages that needs to have queued up for you, I have a very interesting thing to ask as well. We've been talking about the price of intelligence going down to zero. Like we've been talking about this. But I'm paying out of my nose for all these pro subscriptions. Like, what the fuck? Where's this trend? Tell me about like where you land. Like, because the better intelligence is, yes, the inference improvements are there, like in speed ups, in the preloading, in caching, and like a bunch of stuff. Yeah, and we can dive in. I wish we had the time to dive in exactly how this world changed, but it definitely changed, and even is like incredibly more efficient now, etc. On the other side, they keep releasing bigger models and they keep requiring more GPUs, and so it keeps being more expensive. So the max subscription for Claude, for example, is significantly much better than going to the API directly, and that even they're subsidizing it. Where do you see this trend? Is inference going down to zero? Is the price of intelligence going down to zero? Or are we going to keep like inventing bigger models and it's going to cost more and more and more money? And at some point, they will stop subsidizing this. It will cost even more money. Where do you land on this?
So a couple things on there. I think it's always going to cost money to run models, unless we, you know, build some kind of perfect fusion reactor and electricity becomes free. And even if electricity was free, I still think it would cost money. The question of subsidy, I think that like subsidization is somewhat over commentated on in this space. Certainly there was a lot of subsidy happening, but there was also a lot of like really solid businesses being built in this space that have positive unit economics. So I do think that like there are certainly, you know, especially among some of the bigger labs, like there's certainly a lot of subsidy happening, but at the same time, like we are in a world where I think intelligence costs are kind of reasonable compared to the input prices, and one where the world we live in today in terms of like inference being a very, very material line item for companies building AI products is, you know, going to remain the case for the foreseeable future.
Yep. Wolfram, you want to get to Nissan's question super quick while I scroll to this beautiful website that you guys built for inference engineering to tell folks about where to get this book.
Inference requirements are exploding. Now we finally understand why we are building all these data centers. So the question is, Nistan asked, in the last month, there was a sudden GPU shortage. How has it been affecting you and your company? And how are you getting your
Yeah, I mean, we are kind of constantly looking for capacity, just because less about market conditions and more about the pace of growth that this company is continuously on. We're constantly looking for more and more and more capacity to fulfill demand. I think that like right now we've got tons of GPUs. So come on through and grab some. And the reason for this, and I'll try not to you know, put too fine a point on this, considering that I got two CoreWeave guys here with me, is that we invested over the last couple of years, have made enormous infrastructure investments in being able to do true multi-cloud inference, where we're able to very much look at GPUs from a dozen plus different cloud providers, pull in capacity from anywhere in the world, and route our customers' workloads appropriately. And so because of that, like, while GPU capacity is certainly scarce worldwide, it's also it has like localized issues as well. You know, perhaps one particular provider or one particular region might not have the capacity you're looking for on any given day. And so having a very sophisticated system that allows you to work around local bubbles and kind of smooth it out into a global capacity pool definitely helps a lot with these issues. So
I have a question, Philip. I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your take about data centers in space, GPUs in space?
I mean, I think it's cool as hell. That's for sure. GPUs are cool. Data centers are cool. Space is cool. Put them all together.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, I am certainly a big fan of GPUs that I can, you know, walk up to and turn them off and back on again when they're misbehaving. I think GPUs already have extremely high failure rates, and the maintenance associated with space GPUs seems very difficult. But if you're looking for volunteers to go turn them off and back on again, sounds like fun.
All right. Well, Philip, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your book. We're going to bring back everybody else. Feel free to stick with us until the end of the show, because we're a little bit over 2 hours and 20 minutes at this point. Folks, if you want to grab Philip's book to read all about inference and learn inference engineering at Base 10, please get it. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks, we haven't talked about the open source stuff at all. So I think like we've been known for covering open source for a while. So let's talk about this. We have two releases that we need to cover for sure. One of them is our friends from Qwen released a medium model, Qwen 3.5. It's a 35 billion parameter model, only 3 billion active, outperforms the previous 235 billion parameter flagship. This has been the trend for the local open source models. Nistan, LDJ, Wolfram, if you have any comments about the new Qwen, feel free. I would love to hear about this because I downloaded it on LM Studio, tried it with LM Link. It wasn't able to answer my questions about ice cubes though.
But is the second release also by Qwen, or is it something else? Because they also released 27B. Okay. So yeah, they have the 35B active 3B, And there's also a 27B, which is even a bit better than this one. So
this one is special in the architecture because people were testing it locally with just one 3090 and then offloading to the CPU. And it kept the same performance even after 100,000 tokens on local hardware. And it turned out that 30 out of the 40 layers are actually hybrid state space model Mamba layers. So this is just a completely different model, completely different MOE from what we've seen so far. It's more like Jamba. And I'm excited when they come up with the coding version of this. So this is a pretty big leap on them, and I'm not surprised there's issues and stuff. But again, that's 112 tokens after 100K of context. Normally, models just drop to, especially on local hardware, if you're running on 3090s at home, they drop to like 20 tokens per second or 10 after that. And this one just does not drop because of this architecture. So that is incredibly interesting.
And we've talked about hybrid architectures like Mamba, etc., specifically for long context and dropping. And it looks like Qwen is adopting this. And Qwen is usually the canary in the coal mine as well for like open models. So like it looks like, you know, some other folks will start doing this as well. Native at 262 context window, extensible to 1 million via Yarn. It looks like everything that Qwen is doing is via Yarn as well. Now, after talking about Sweetbench verified being obsolete, the scores here at Sweetbench verified, they don't mean as much as they used to. Like I would love to test it on like Sweetbench Pro and see, but GPK Diamond is very, very, very high as well. So like this is definitely a model. But yeah, Wolfram, you're right. There's a whole lineup of models here that they released, not just the one model. There's Qwen 3.5 Flash, 3.5 35B, which is this one, 122B, and then the like, is that a dense 27B? It's just like a dense, right? It's not an MOE. It's just like a dense 27 billion parameter model. Yep.
And it's even a small tick better in the benchmarks. I personally looked at the terminal bench scores, and the most interesting thing is also that GBT OSS 120B, which is much bigger and is one of the best local models, basically, only got 18.7%, where they are over 40%. So it's a big
on terminal bench, yeah.
On terminal bench. It's a big leap in the agentic and coding capabilities in this. And it's also very significant because all the other open source models we got in the recent past, like Kimi and Minimax and so on, they are all too big to run on just GPU. So most people can't run them. While this one, they worked. You can put it on one 3090 and on CPU, like Niston said, or on two, you have the speed. It's super fast. So this is very exciting, and it's my favorite of the week. We didn't do favorite this time on the show, but this would have been my choice.
Alrighty. So Qwen.
It's good for more than just local too. Like we've been using these as base models for some of our recent fine-tuning experiments. So there's like, I'm very, very excited about these models, less in terms of like just running it as is, and more as like, instead of adapting a 235B base, if we can adapt one of these guys instead, then we automatically just like get so much further in terms of meeting a latency and a cost requirement.
Yep. And just to tie a loop back, just to tie a loop back to the beginning of the show, Qwen was not named as one of the folks who distilled a topic. They were not part of the three other labs. Qwen is and have been for a longest time. The other the release that we didn't cover, that we didn't get a chance to, our friends from Liquid also released a Liquid Foundation model. This is the largest one, so it's very interesting that they can release a 24 billion MOE, where Qwen releases like a smaller as well, 34. This one has only 2.3 billion active parameters and also runs on consumer laptops. So LFM has been focusing on smaller models and finally released like a little bit of a big one. Folks, do we have any comments on the LFM architecture? Also a hybrid architecture, but like a specific one to them. This is not like, as far as I know, like Mamba layers. They have like a specific thing, right, Nissan?
Yeah. This one's completely different. I tested this one. It can't code, but I am extremely impressed with the math and with everything else from the model. It was super fast, and it answered my vibe checks about all the different like Martian railgun, like the really difficult physics and math questions. It answered all of those perfectly. And they've trained it on 17 trillion tokens, and they're still continue to train it. So this might turn into a surprisingly significant release from them. I just randomly tested it yesterday, so it was extremely good at tasks that didn't involve code. In code, it was just like write a very small amount and then not bother. So I don't think it's really trained for that. But everything else was excellent, surprisingly.
So two models in open source. I'm pretty sure like others released. The model that broke ArcAGI was also open source MIT. Thank you so much, Philip Keeley, for joining us as well. Folks, at 2 hours and almost 30 minutes, I think it's time to land this plane. The only thing that I want to say is that we're still all waiting for the big one, for DeepSeek V4, whatever they're going to release. Everybody looks like they're getting up to it, including the US government. Let's run through the TLDR and make sure that we have covered, at least mentioned everything that we had to cover. We didn't show the demo for the 15,000 tokens. I really want to, if you guys send me a link, I'll go to Talas and like show the demo. But I think we covered pretty much everything else. We didn't cover like Seedance. Oh yeah, okay. Seedance 2. I want to show you Seedance 2. I think I have it open. Finally landed as for users, while the API is getting delayed by ByteDance because Disney and everybody else send cease and desist, etc. Seedance 2 launched on CapCut. CapCut is the kind of the editor from ByteDance, and you can get it. I can show you exactly how to get it on Seedance. So let me bring this here. So you download the CapCut.
In Germany, by the way, so it may not be everywhere.
Oh, okay. Could be only US, but usually they launch it before US. So this is CapCut. I have a program, but it usually works. You go to AI video right here, and then it still says, it switched displays for me. Okay. It still says 1.5 on the thing, but like Seedance 2 is now part of the, you have to choose it in a dropdown, and it costs it's not cheap. You can give it one image or multiple images, but it's restricted. So as far as you guys remember when we talked about Seedance, you can give it video. This is how everybody generates those Seinfeld episodes where Seinfeld says some crazy shit. This is a video to video transfer. You cannot use video to video here via this. So it's still restricted. You can use one image, but it's definitely not going to use the voices. And I think the voices is what like broke the internet as well. So this is Seedance. And let's look at Talas' demo. Nistan, can you tell us about this super quick? What the hell are we looking at?
Yeah, 3 engineers left TenstorRent while they were making accelerators, so new GPUs, basically. So these were actual engineers that had worked on actual chips. This wasn't just something like etched or like an investor play. Like they didn't even raise that much money, but they finally shipped a product which has the baked-in weights of Llama 3 8B. And it is just nuts. I mean, it is limited to 8K context. But I think it would be funny to have it like summarize part of our transcript, but it might just be a bit too long. So
yeah, it looks like it's a little bit too long. This is just my
cut it in half or something.
Transcription, yeah.
And yeah.
So let me. I can't. Okay.
Okay. Better.
I'll do something. I'll do some work.
You're at. Yeah, you should be good now, I think.
No. It still shows. It doesn't show you
13,000 tokens. Okay, you might just have to cut it in half somewhere else.
So for folks who's listening, we always have this like we're looking at ChatGimmy, ChatGimmy.ai, literally. Let me just ask it for a short story about Mars or GPUs in space.
It's just
folks who are not watching. I pressed the button and a longest story just appeared as though it was sitting there for me to just like show this to me. And it shows me 15,691 tokens per second. And this whole thing was generated in 0.048 seconds. And this is unfortunately limited. Nisa, do we know which model this runs at?
It's Llama 3 8B. That's what I heard.
So still Llama.
Yeah, well, this was the demo. I guess it did take them a while to bake in the weights. And honestly, even if you're going to do like filtering stuff or moderation models, those are just 3B now. So there's already uses for this thing to run it like
It's an incredible use case for something like this. Immediate guardrails, LLM as a judge, which we know that like other models should be able to do. This is 15,000 tokens. So this happens with burning the model onto the actual chip, right? This is how
it's a low power tiny card that fits in your hand. Like you could probably just carry it with a battery in the rest of the system.
It's low power, really?
Yeah, it's not a very like it's a one slot PCIe card. It's just
I believe they said 300 watts. Yeah, which is like that's like a third of an H100.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a little bit more than a Mac Studio, but you could carry it in one hand. I'll stick with that.
All righty, folks. With 15,500 tokens per second, I think it's time to conclude and land this plane. We had an incredible week in the AI, like capping off an incredible year. Or let me say this: we had an incredible week, capping off an incredible month in February with a bunch of launches: Opus 4.6 and Codex 5.3 and Gemini 3.1 Pro, and just like a lot of other stuff. Also Grok release, but nobody cared. Capping off an insane start of 2026 with OpenClaw and skills and just like mind-blowing stuff. Seedance and images and Nano Banana 2 just launched. So this is only the first 2 months of this year. It's getting ridiculously harder to try to cover all of this for you, but we're trying. I'm very, very happy with the amount of guests that we're having. We had guests today, Nader from Cognition and Philip Killy from Base 10, and we had Ben, who's building a company that broke $700,000 in ARR live on the show after having 600,000 yesterday and having 500,000 the day before. So he's like adding $100,000 in ARR every week right now, which is just absolutely bonkers and very indicative to the singularity that we're all experiencing. With this, I'm very happy that you all are here. Nistan, LDJ Wolfram, we had Ryan and Jan Peleg as well. In addition, I'm happy that like over 2,000 folks are tuning into the show to just like help us get them up to speed. If you missed any part of the show, Thursday AI is available on thursday.news, our new website. Please check it out, thursday.news. And also everywhere we get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and on Substack, I release a newsletter that I write myself, and I try to not use AI as much at all in there, just to like fix, because I think that voice and tone is very important. And so if you are looking for authenticity, Thursday AI is here. We're live. This is not AI. You cannot fake this for now. We'll see dance maybe in a year or two, but for now we're live and we're bringing you the experts from the industry. So we're hugely appreciative of everybody who tunes in, spends time with us, and we'll see you here next week in March, the third month of this insane year. That's probably going to be also insane. Maybe DeepSeek will drop. We'll see. Maybe the other show will drop. Thank you so much, folks, for joining. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you here next week. Bye-bye, everyone. And we are